mercy, look at how the time
3, 2, 1,
goes.
and welcome everybody to this episode of the Coming Home Podcast with John Allen. Today Today I'm talking with my old friend, one of the oldest friends I have, not in years, but in longevity as a friend, Mr. Aaron Turner. Aaron Turner, my brother, how you doing?
Man, I am like over the moon right now to be talking with you, Doc. I mean,
if people could see the
years.
Yeah, if people could see the video, they would just see both of us just smiling.
Yeah, man.
Because it's been that
tear.
Yeah, how about
tear.
that? Well,
yes, sir, man.
Well, the love is there. I mean, we're going back to. I'm trying to remember when we first met. Was it maybe around
in middle school,
7th grade that you came to Norton?
Yep, exactly.
7th grade.
grade.
And we just hit it off right away. Reason being, I was just going to say, reason being, like attracts like. And if, for those who are wondering, I'm talking about skin color.
Brown attracts brown.
Now, since those days, our hometown it's still suburban, semi-rural. But back then, people had corn falling out of their ears. I mean, back then it was fairly rural, and we stood out.
corn falling out of their ears, boy. That's a good one. That's a new one for me.
but if you think back, you probably see they had corn falling out of their ears.
Oh yeah. I can see it now.
Boy, did we have some good times. I cannot remember like the definitive first day of meeting you, but I remember, and maybe it's because it just kind of, I mean, we just hit the ground running as far as our friendship and our sense of humor. Boy, did we laugh. We
Oh man, that's high school. That's high school. I'll tell you a story about that in a little bit, but
no, go ahead. Tell me. Hit it. Go ahead.
Well, look. Let me tell you a story now because it comes to mind, and I didn't think that this would come up in this. I'll call it a show because this is a show to me, man. This is great. But I had this weird experience, man, with a regressor, a person who regressed.
Okay.
You go back and I'd heard about this esoteric stuff years and years ago. This has been many years ago. And I'd always been curious about, if this was really real, man, if you could go back in lifetimes or whatever, things of that nature. Well, I went to somebody, and actually it wasn't too far from here, less than 2-3 miles from where I live at now, here in North Carolina. And to make a long story short, the lady did regress me.
Okay. Is it like
conscious?
Is it like almost like a hypnosis type of? Can you just tell us what esoteric regression is? What is that?
It's basically hypnosis.
Okay.
And whatever comes up in whatever state of conscious that is, which is a hypnotic state. And I will say, I can remember I was conscious, but something she accessed some sort of trigger point or whatever in my mind that took me back to high school.
Okay.
And when I went to high school, I remember this like it was yesterday, and this happened several years ago. But the form that she used, I had my eyes closed, and she had me look at my feet. And I looked down at my feet, and I could see those kangaroo tennis shoes that I had with the zippers in them. I could see the blue pants, and I could see the shiny red jacket that I used to wear from band. And the reason why this came to mind, because for that time period, when she took me back to high school, during this regression hypnotherapy session, at that point in time, I just laughed.
Okay.
That's all I could do. I laughed because that's what high school was to me, basically. Yeah. I mean, we laughed so much. Now, granted, you got your grades, I got my grades, and actually I ended up doing well in high school. I didn't realize that I would look back on my grades, and I started out real bad, and then I did getting A's and B's and honor roll, merit roll. That was great, but that's all I could recall in high school from that hypnotherapy session was laughter, because, man, we laughed so much, man, up and down the hallways.
We had so many, and looking back on it, it was a very it was like a constant inside joke with us.
Always.
We would laugh about things, and nobody had a clue what we were laughing about. Sometimes we didn't even know. Sometimes we
right. It was unspoken. It was spoken and unspoken at the same time. And you know what? It makes me think it was probably a sense of survival too, man. We had to survive being rare. I
have to say this. I've talked with my sister about this several times.
My girl, Mare.
Yeah. She was a guest. I had her as a guest. Yeah. Okay. Good. Mm-hmm. So I talked with her about this. I had my good times. Mm-hmm. But for me, when I think of high school, like from middle school on, like from 6th grade all the way through graduation. To me, it was so depressing. I was depressed a lot of that time.
Wow.
And I think my way of dealing with it was sports. You know, I was an ass kicker with the football thing.
Yes, sir. Number 44.
Number 44. That's right.
I remember.
Number 44. Yeah. Yes, and then and so it was sports, mostly football and laughter. Mm-hmm. But underneath all of that was this darkness. I mean, if I were to go through this regression session,
you would be crying probably.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So, and you know, that surprised me, man. That really surprised me. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off, but that surprised me when I heard you tell your sister that, man. I was like, wow, I did not. But then looking back, I can see some of it. Because I had my issues too, man. So we were like probably swimming in the same boat.
It was a strange period. I mean, as we all know, that's a formative time. But when I think back on it, man, it was dark. It was depressing, and It's interesting that, you know, if you listen to that episode with my sister, not too much of it came out in that episode, but just in general conversation with her up through the years, it's amazing how she and I, as brother and sister, experienced those years totally different.
Yeah.
Totally different. You know, she'll tell me things from time to time. Yeah, did you know that so and so did so and so? I'm like, what? Are you kidding?
What? Yeah, no. I heard that. Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, you know, and I don't want to say any names because a lot of these people listen to this. They may be listening, right. So I don't want to hurt any feelings.
Hey guys. Exactly.
But some people, man, they were rolling around in some dirt that I didn't even know was there.
Exactly, man. And you know what? The thing about Meredith, listening to that podcast, which was just so eye-opening because we never talked about some of those details of when you came from Akron. I didn't know we paralleled a lot. You know,
yeah.
You came from Akron. I came from Akron, moving out to Norton. But I still thought Meredith was much younger than we are, and she's about the same age as my brother Jerry.
Yeah, 1 year.
She's like a year.
Yeah, she's 1 year. She was one class behind us. Yeah.
Yeah, same with Jerry. You know, my brother. So I was like, dang, I always thought Meredith was much younger, just like I think my brother Jerry is much younger, but he's not. He's not. He's right. He's right there. The older you get, the closer you realize these guys are to you.
Do you feel 50, 51 years old?
Not really. I don't feel it per se because I'm a kid at heart, and I don't have children, by the way. So I think that's a major component. I've never had children. It wasn't in my cars.
That keeps you young.
Keeps me young, and I got memories like this, and I got so many experiences. Now that in itself, when I start thinking about the experiences, and when I just told this little story about me going through this hypnotherapist, and which I could never find this lady, Vicky Powderline. I've been looking for that lady ever since because it was the only experience that I had like that. When I think about that, and I say, oh yeah, it's been a few years ago. Then a few years ago, now it totals up to 51. You know what I'm saying? Like, whoa,
right.
You know, I can't just say, well, that was 10 years ago. No, 10 times 5. You know, that's a lot of years. You know, plus one. You know,
what made you want to go to a hypnotherapist? What do you call it again? Esoteric regression?
Well, I said it's like esoteric is a term that I guess is out of the norm or something that's unusual or something that might be woo woo or whatever. I don't want to. But this was just a hypnotherapy, past life regression. But to answer your question, man, which, wow, I guess this always comes up if I talk about myself, is just what I was drawn to at somewhat of an early age, even when I was in high school, just reading about esoteric, just out of the norm things that wouldn't be in your typical line of religion.
Right.
It would be book, and I'll just give just a real brief explanation because it's just a good start to where I got introduced to these type of things, which was through Shirley MacLaine. Shirley MacLaine was the dancer, the author. Her book, Out on a Limb. I forgot who introduced it to me. I think it might have been my mom, but that book changed a lot of people's lives. And then the miniseries came out on, I think, ABC, and that was way out there. Now, whoever's listening to this now, some people, what, they listened to that or heard it? But that was a major component into wanting to understand and find out about this, what regression and Edgar Casey and all of these things that I would never think of because we were raised in the church. So this stuff would be like, whoa, opposite of that. So that was just the basic that just led me on that journey that I'm still on to this very, very day at this very moment.
But you say it's very different from what we were taught being raised in the church. Spirituality, to me anyway, is all encompassing. I was raised in the church. I'm still a Christian. But I can tell you, coming up tomorrow, there's going to be an episode. I think I told you about it. It's almost 4 hours long. And
wow.
I was talking with a musician friend of mine here, and he's a Taoist.
Wow. Yeah.
And man, we talked, and you would think that Christianity and Taoism are different, if not polar opposites, but they're not. And that's going to come. That comes out, and that comes out in our discussion. But I think, but my point is, I think that spirituality is all encompassing. The things that you find in Christianity, you're going to find in Judaism. You're going to find it in Islam. You're going to find it in Buddhism. I found out that you can find it in Taoism.
Right.
So I think there's a moral thread that goes through any type of spirituality. And I say spirituality on purpose because religion is kind of tainted. Religion is a word that people throw around very often in a negative context. So I say spirituality, and these things that you were curious about at a young age have led you on a spiritual path, if not a traditional religious path. Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. I call this, it's more like a universal. There's a universal truth. That's a thread that's thread through all your basic religions. Actually, I have a poster that it's not up right now, but it's like the golden rule. And it has the major religions of the world. I think it may be 9 or 10 of them, from Taoism to Christianity. It's all of them. That's major, and they all have the golden rule written in them.
And there's that common thread.
Do unto others as you want to do unto yourself. And I will mention this because I figured this may come up, but I didn't know if it would come up like this. But this is me, so it's going to be what it's going to be, and it encompasses everything.
Sure.
But I love how my dude, I call him Bo Lozoff, who we can talk about a little bit. He wrote a book called We're All Doing Time. Matter of fact, this shirt right here. You see this design? Yeah. That's like my uniform. That design is the cover for We're All Doing Time, which is considered like the prisoner's Bible. It's been known for many, many years. And he had this thing where he just condensed everything together to say it's community. Well, he started with communion and community. Communion is your connection with your divine, and community is how you treat that person who's in front of you, which to me is the golden rule.
I was going to say,
that encompasses all of them.
I was going to say, and yet again, there's that common thread of the golden rule. It's just
that common thread.
There's a thing called decency that I think is, as you say, it's universal. You can get that in the church. You can get that on taking a walk in the woods. You can get that through. It's just it is a universal thing. It's a universal thing.
It is, and it calls each and every one of us to do something with it. Whatever it is. And I'm not at all against any religion. I'm still religious. I can consider myself a Christian. If I was to say anything, I think I love my dude. the Dalai Lama's kindness is my religion. Kindness is my religion. Somebody's texting me, but I'm not going to answer that right now.
Tell him you're busy getting famous with your boy.
Yeah,
Jan.
I'm busy getting famous. No, I am. That would be my religion. If somebody who I'm just saying I am. But kindness is his religion, and I love that. But yeah, man, talking about this is awesome because this is me in essence, or I should say what I identify, how I identify.
And that is interesting to hear because hearing you talk about this, man, you haven't changed a bit. Going back to day one when I first met you, I cannot remember you not one time being cold-hearted or angry or spiteful. You were always kind. You were always smiling. You never had a bad word for anybody, and that's how I remember you through school.
Wow, girl, you just didn't catch him. you just didn't catch him. But look, I had to go through the fire. Trust me, bro. I had to go through the fire to get to the gold. But yeah,
well, let me ask you.
That's a compliment. Sure.
Well, let me ask you. Coming from Akron. Now, I came from Akron in third grade. So wow. I was 7 years old when I came, almost 8 years old. And then you came in fifth grade, which is what?
No,
10? Seventh grade. I'm sorry, seventh grade. 12 years old, right?
11 years old. I remember when I moved out to Norton. Yeah, go ahead.
What were you, how did you experience that?
Wow. It was, it was a big culture shock. It was like, wow, quiet but I will tell you this, and this is a good segue. The most major important thing that moving to Norton did for me was expose me musically. And it gave me the opportunity to do what was birthed in me, and that is practice my drums and play my drums. That was a major thing because I had just got a drum set, a brand new drum set when I was in Akron at 10 years old. I think my 10th Christmas, my parents got me a nice, decent drum set, where it had the hi-hat and the little cymbal on the thing. I had that sparkle blue drum set. But living in the city, that wasn't going, living close together, and that wasn't going to really work too well. And I don't remember actually even playing it much in Akron on Bacon Street. But when I moved out to Norton, it was like, wow, we had space. I had time. I had my room, so I set up my drums. So that was major. You had a whole room there in your basement. I remember we would go down there. And right. You I don't know how long you had, apparently you hadn't been playing that long, but I always had the impression that you had been playing from birth because you were good. I played bongos from birth. Yeah, I played bongos from birth. Just the drum set was new at 10 years old, but go ahead though. Do you remember we would go, for those over here in Norway, in the States, at least back when we were kids, you had to pay for your school lunch. Now when Atari and all those video games came out, I would get my lunch money for the week, but I would go into Wadsworth at the grocery store there, and they had the old Space Invaders game and the old Asteroids game, and I would spend my lunch money on that. Do you remember that we used to make up songs for the girls? Really? Come on now. Remember we would go into the gym early in the morning before school started, and sometimes at lunch, and we would be sitting at that piano, and we would make up songs. Yep, we would make up songs. Remember, we used to sing to Karen Ritzman. Ooh, yep. We used to sing to Ricky Antonetti. Oh yeah. We used to sing to Christine Moran. And we would tell them, we'll sing a song for you. We'll make up a rap or sing a song for you and pay us $0.25. Or Karen, can I get that peanut butter and jelly sandwich? I'll sing a song for you. Remember that? Yeah, man. Because go ahead. No, because I never had my lunch money. I spent it on video games. So to get money, we would sing to those girls. Yeah, man, and that's where a lot of that humor came from because we were using. Hey, listen, you remember this? I know you remember this, which is also a big part of our friendship was Morris Day and the Time and Prince.
Morris Day and the Time and Prince.
We would steal lines from them junkers, and
so we're going back to like 1983, 84.
Yeah, yes, sir.
And those all, the lines from, it was mostly Morris Day, because he was the
Morris Day.
Yeah.
He was the gigolo. Gigolos get lonely too. He was that. Oh man, Morris Day. He shaped our childhood.
Yes, he did.
Our teenage years. Yeah, Morris Day. My goodness. Which was which I found out which I found out a lot about Prince. He was that alter ego, somewhat of Prince.
Yes.
That was for Morris Day to be that character. He created that character, and he went with it. But that was that other side of Prince. That man was just amazing. Man, so go ahead, because I'll get talking about Prince and we'll be to the moon.
No, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about music in general. You're the one that got me interested in music. When I would go over there to hang out with you, and you'd be on your drums. I think you had a keyboard and a piano at one point, and you're the one that got me interested.
Wow.
In performing or learning about music. So thank you for that. That's you. Yeah.
Man, you know what? I that's so crazy that you said that, because when I actually found out you were doing music, which I don't even remember when that was, but I was shocked. And then I thought about it. I was like, you know what? This is the guy who introduced me to Prince.
That's right.
You were the guy who introduced me to Prince. When you brought For You to school and I heard that changed my life when I heard For You. And so but I didn't know I had that influence on you till you said it right now.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, the way I found out about Prince was I heard, I can't remember that radio station. I think they ran it out of Akron. No, it was college. I think they ran it out of Akron U, 87 point something or another. 87, yeah, something like that. And they played the whole album. For You.
Wow. Yeah.
And this was like right when it came out. So we're going back to I was like 8 years old.
That was 78, 79.
Yeah. So I was like 9 years old, man. And then that summer, do you remember Cindy Coe?
I remember that name, Cindy Coe.
Cindy Coe lived down the road from me, and she had a tape. Not the tape, but a copied tape of For You.
Right,
and I asked her if I could borrow it. I never gave it back. Sorry, Cindy.
So that's what you played for me then.
Exactly. That was her tape.
But thank you, Cindy.
Yeah, just to bring it back around. That was her. Wow. I got that tape from Cindy, and then I remember playing that For You. And so I was a fan of Prince from day one. A lot of people, when they think of Prince, they can't really go further back than like Purple Rain.
But before 1999, yeah.
But we're going back to 77, 78. 78 when For You came out.
Right. And you know what? To this day, For You is still in my probably top 5 Prince albums. I still love For You. That whole album is one of the best, most purest albums of Prince, period.
For people who are listening, and some people, God help them. Some people say, I don't like Prince. Okay, well, I feel sorry for you. I feel sorry for you.
But keep it to yourself.
But they need to. I strongly urge people to go back and listen to his first album. It is not the Prince that people recognize.
Yeah, right.
And people have to also understand how young he was.
Yeah, 17, 18.
Yeah,
17, 18, 19,
playing everything himself. And when you listen to the musicianship of that first album, it's so raw. It's just a taste of what he was going to come with later. Right. But when I say a taste, it's not like it was minimized at all. I mean, it was an in your face, the beauty of the ballads, and then the rawness of the funk, the hardness of the rock songs. I'm Yours.
All of it was
the guitar work on that song.
Yeah, all of it was there, man. I mean, like I said, to this day, after he is passed on and gone, God rest his soul, For You is still one of my most famous, favorite Prince albums.
It's almost like he recorded that album and then he took pieces of that and just sprinkled it throughout the rest of his career. But if you want to know what he really is about, it's that first album.
Yep. And then things changed after that when he went to, Prince and Dirty Mind and all that stuff.
Started wearing pantyhose
he was growing
and
up.
stuff.
Yeah, he started growing up. But all that was intentional, man.
The man had a plan. The brother had a plan.
He did, man. Wow, I just had a crazy thought, man. Let me veer off to just because I want to share these little nuggets.
Yeah,
man,
go ahead.
This is like live. I'm gonna veer off way to the left a little bit because it goes back to that regression therapy session that I had.
Yeah.
There was another thing, and I don't think I ever told you this because we ain't talked a whole lot in 30-some years. But check this out, man. Do you remember the trench coat that you had?
Yes, I do. Absolutely.
You remember that trench coat?
Yes, I do.
I'm going to tell you something, man. I was so much in love with you wearing that trench coat, Doc, man. When you brought that trench coat, and I guess it was like I don't know if it was a Dirty Mind or controversy, whatever it was, but it was associated with something like that. So I always wanted a trench coat. When I saw you with that trench coat, I always wanted a trench coat, man.
I got that trench coat because of the Dirty Mind album. That's what made me get that.
Yeah. I figured you did. Yeah, I don't remember how it came together back then, but I pieced it together years later. Okay, so years and years, and this is how things crazily go in my life. Crazily, that's a new word, I guess. Years later, I'm at a thrift store, which this is where you find these kind of things. Matter of fact, I think you might have found yours.
Bought it at a garage sale.
Yeah, garage sale.
Yeah,
some things you got to find.
No, wait, no. It was at a It was at Goodwill. It was at Goodwill. Yeah, it was
at Goodwill.
Yes, it was.
At a Goodwill. I was at a Goodwill or thrift store, or whatever, and I found it seemed like the exact same type of trench coat that you had. I still got it to this day. It's in my storage unit right now, but which is crazy to say I got a storage unit. But I finally got me that trench coat, man, and I've maybe worn it 2 times, 3 times, but it's just a symbolism. But this is the part that I wanted to bring up, because when I was in that regression therapy session, I went through different phases in life, whatever. She would ask questions, but the furthest back I can go in my my mind was, I remember saying 99, which I think was before some other time period, what I don't remember. But I could see a man, he seemed like he was homeless, with his hands over like a barrel of fire, wearing that trench coat.
Wow.
Wearing that trench coat, man. That trench coat had something. To this day, I don't make the connection at all. Wow. But here, I mean, now this is a connection. You had that trench coat. You had a trench coat like that. But that was in my, now.
There has to be some kind of meaning in that.
It's some kind of meaning in that, and I just don't know. But I wanted to mention, and I didn't think I would bring that up on this conversation, but certain things come to mind, man, and I just go with it because this is so cool in making. This has been so many years, man, in coming. So yeah, I just wanted to put that little nugget there. So
that's interesting, though. There has to be some kind of meaning with that. Now, what going and doing this regression, these regression sessions or regression therapy?
It's just one.
You only did it once. Okay.
Just that with her once, and I think I might have tried it again, and I'm not gonna mention no names here, but I think I tried to do it again. And that guy, there was a dog barking outside, and I just could not be relaxed and go under or be hypnotized. And I think I might have tried it maybe 2 times with another person and this other doctor, and it just didn't work. And then since then I couldn't find no one else, and I couldn't find her, Vicky Patterline. I think that's her name. I said it again. If I ever
I'm gonna look her up afterwards.
Vicky. I tried to find her, who she is, and she seemed like she was some kind of angel. Honestly, you look into her eyes, she was just different. But that was it.
Was this in North Carolina?
In North Carolina, yeah. Right? I wasn't living where I live at now in my condo now, but it's like 2 or 3 minutes from where I live at now. Where the place was in the Executive Village. Go ahead, though. I cut you off.
What is it that brought you to North Carolina? Because, we totally lost contact after graduation. I went away to college, and then after that, I went into the Marines, and then, that was it. So I don't really, help me catch up. What is it? What brought you to North Carolina?
Well, I'm going to say the same thing I've been saying for 20 some years. I took a long vacation. That's been my answer for many years. What brought me to North Carolina was basically my parents, and my mom and my stepdad moved down here back in maybe early 90s, maybe late 80s, early 90s. And I came and helped them move when they came down here. And, you know, back then, things were kind of a little crazy in Ohio. Wasn't nothing going on in Norton. No. To this day, my dad still lives in that same house, which
does he?
We'll talk about. Yeah, same. It burnt, but he rebuilt it, and you wouldn't recognize it, man.
Okay.
Matter of fact, when we go back to Ohio, you go back to Ohio. You got to go by there. It's amazing. He's changed it, but nothing really was happening in Ohio. And the major thing, I remember coming down here to North Carolina, the sun was shining, the degree of temperature was probably 20 plus than it was in Ohio. That weather changes a whole lot. It does. So that contributed to my move down here. Eventually I started playing music, and that just kept me down here in North Carolina. And then I found out years later, or I shouldn't say I found out, it came to mind that Route 77 or Interstate 77 between Ohio and basically Raleigh or North Carolina, there's nothing in between that you don't want to stop really nowhere in between to live, you know?
Well, I worked as a truck driver. I used to drive for Schneider for about 18 months. Yeah, when I got out of the Marines, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I took that job just to get on the road. I wanted to see America, and I needed to think. And and you're very correct in what you say. That stretch from 77, there's just nothing there.
Nothing there. So North Carolina would be the obvious next stop from Ohio to going down 77. But I will say this though, we did reconnect one time on the phone, and I can remember this like it was yesterday. I was at work when I was working at Elon Homes for Children. We're talking. You were living in Jacksonville at the time. I think that's when you were in the Marines, because it was back in the 90s. It had to be 94, 95, maybe 93. We talked on the phone.
It was early 95. I remember that. And I had gotten out of the Marines December of 94.
Okay.
Yeah. And this was, I think, actually, I remember this too. I had started my truck driving job at that point, and the reason for me calling you was just figure out where you were and see if I could maybe swing in wherever you were, depending on where my route would take me at the time. It never happened, but that was the reason. That was the reason for me calling.
We had that phone call.
That's right.
Yeah, we had that phone call because I remember being at work, and obviously it didn't happen, and I don't know what took it in a different direction. But man, I was like so excited to hear from you, man. And there was one question that's been on my mind for the longest. You finally answered this question, and I was not happy at all. What the answer to this question was it goes back to Prince again. Where is that Black album? I wanted to know where that Black album was that you bought, and you said you lost it. I could have put my hand wherever through the phone and say, man, how could you lose that gem, man?
Well, what had happened was I was in another relationship. Since then, I've been married and divorced, and now I got my Snoopy. We're married now. But when I was with that other lady, the place where we were staying got broken into.
Wow.
And man, I had so many music gems, things with different box sets and different bonus tracks that I had bought when I was stationed in Okinawa, Japan, that were irreplaceable. And all that stuff got stolen, and in that, the Black album. So it got stolen. It got stolen.
It got stolen. Okay. So because I thought you said you lost it in something, but man, being stolen that. Because I remember the day you and I went in your El Camino, driving over to it was Chapel Hill Mall. I think Chapel Hill Mall or Summit
Mall
in that area.
Summit Mall.
To that record store, and you paid $35.
That was big money back then.
Big money. I was crazy. I didn't know how you did it, but you paid $35 for that vinyl Black album of Prince, which some people may not know who we're talking about, but that was like that album that Prince did, and you had the vinyl. I remember that thing, and it was like gold, man. And you were the man when you got that album, dude.
with my trench coat, with my Jerry curl and trench coat.
What Jerry? Where's our Jerry curl?
Man, that Jerry curl is gone. It has been burnt.
That
thing has been.
Man, go ahead though. I'm on and on.
That was man. I'd forgotten about that actually, but yeah, it was at Summit Mall, and I don't remember how I got that money. I think and this goes back to. I'm surprised you don't really remember that singing for the girls and to get lunch to get lunch money. Yeah.
I started vaguely remember sitting at the piano was the thing that I remember.
But I had saved up. I had saved up a bunch of lunch money for that album. That's
wow. Yeah. It was worth it, man. Yeah. And I got the copy. I recorded a cassette off of that. I think I still may have that cassette somewhere around here. But I recorded a cassette off of your album, man. And I always wanted to. Man, how could I get an album? Like, I was like, how could I be like?
I was one of the few. That was quick enough on the draw to get that because it disappeared and there was no reissue. If you remember, so that thing was a gem. You couldn't find it. If you didn't get it right away, then you just didn't get it, and it was not to be found.
Right, because he actually he never released. Well, I should say never, because they eventually did later on. But he didn't release it in the States, I don't think. Or if he did, I know it was released for like a second, and then they took him off.
And then they took him off. Yeah. Right. But I got that original release before they pulled it off the shelves. Yep. That's what made it so special. Probably of all of those things that got stolen when we got broken into, that is what broke my heart.
I'm sure. I'm absolutely sure, because that stayed on my mind. Out of all the stuff that we had known, that was the one gem that I knew you had, and that was the one thing that kept me wondering, John, if I ever talked to you, where is that Black album at, man?
If I still had that, man, I wish I still had that. Oh.
I wonder how much that thing would be worth. We should look that up sometime. We should look up how much a original vinyl Black album would be. How much worth that?
A lot more than $35.
Man, sure, a whole lot more than $35.
So you have been an actual working musician. What's the biggest gig you've ever had?
Good question. There's two answers. I'm a Gemini, so I'm gonna give two answers. There was a biggest paying gig, I'll say, and then the biggest gig. And that was fairly easy to answer. I'll start with I'll say the lesser of the two. The lesser, which was still great, was Y2K, year 2000. When we were going in the 99 to 2000, we did a gig, and I was with a band called the Rise Band. I was with Rise for many years. Enjoyed working with them, Jason and Vic, and we traveled up and down the East Coast, and we had the big gig. This was a big money gig. We got paid a grand, I guess. And to me, that was big money. Look, I ain't paid that. Ain't had that much money paid to me for playing drums since then, But that was a payday. That was a once in a lifetime thing. And we played down in Orlando, Florida, for the Michigan State. They were at the bowl, one of the bowls, and we played at that big gala, that big whatever it was, down at the Peabody hotel in Orlando. We played that gig, and that was fun. I remember a little bit about the actual gig, but more so I remember just being at Disney World and having a ball and staying over, and that was a ball. So that was a major gig because of the amount of money that was made.
Now, did they cover your travel and?
Oh yeah, they covered the band. We took.
So that grand was money in your pocket.
That was cash in my pocket, man. And the caveat, the great part about that to me was the I made an extra $250 because there was a professional football player down there that was trying to put a show on the next day, which was New Year's Day. Wow. And he had a band that for some reason didn't have instruments or whatever, didn't have sound. So he hired our sound guy to stay back, and he needed drums, so he said, I'm gonna pay you extra $250 to use your drums and stay here. So I'm like,
Hey,
stay here.
shoot.
I don't have to do that, and I can help my driver. And my girlfriend at the time was with me, and that was the first time I went to Fulton's Crab House and splurged. Man, I splurged on crab claws.
Hey man,
just had
$1,000 in your pocket.
In the pocket, man. I splurged. I ate like a king. We ate like kings and queens that day, and we had a chance to go hang out around Disney, and that was awesome. Now, look, I guess the flip side of that is once we came back the next day, the band had already left. We came back, I guess, New Year's Day or that night or whatever, real tired. Somebody broke into my as she was talking about breaking it, they broke into my Explorer and stole my Mass Face. I had a real nice sound system. Just took my sound system out. So like, oh well, that's the bittersweet of it. But I didn't. I said, oh well, They called me when we were on the back saying, hey man, somebody broke into you. And I remember my reaction was, oh well, that things happen. Kept on moving. But my second gig, the major gig, I guess, that I really enjoyed, which was not too long ago. I had a chance to play with, I call it members of Cameo. One of my buddies and my musical friend, Aaron Mills, is the bass player for Cameo. And we got hired. I don't think I'm breaking no confidentiality here, but we got hired to play a Cameo gig in his hometown of Asheville, North Carolina.
Beautiful town.
Which is it? Yeah, Asheville is in the news these days, but that's something else. Good for you, Asheville. But we had a gig. It was Aaron and I, a keyboard player, Charlie Singleton, and Tommy Jenkins. We played a gig up there as Cameo because it's members of Cameo. Sure. But that was major for me to be able to play Cameo songs. Growing up, listening to Cameo, loving Cameo, talking out the side of your neck,
all of that.
Strange, single, all those songs. Being able to play that with some of those original members was major. And I made it no rehearsal, no nothing, just going off. I had a drum solo. I have it recorded on CD somewhere, and it was a good gig. Now I did well. I could have done better. I hate to admit this, but I made one slight mistake. Came in too early on Sparkle, which why do these things stand out of my mind? But still. That was major, man. Made it through the gig, had a good time.
So why was there no rehearsal? Was it just a time issue? You just didn't
time, man. Aaron and I don't think. Well, we rehearsed for his gigs, but at that time, man, didn't have time to come together for a rehearsal, whatever. And besides, it's like you know these Cameo songs. You just play these Cameo songs.
Yeah.
Now I wish I would have learned, because trust me on this, Doc. It's a whole nother world playing those songs rather than listening to them, because it's not an easy gig. I realize that. And fortunately, I got to know Jonathan Moffett, which is Cameo's had been Cameo's major drummer for 30-some years. But people know Moffett from Michael Jackson's drummer and Madonna and the Jacksons and El John. But I got to know Jonathan's a great guy. But getting to know him afterwards and watching him, that's not an easy gig at all. That Cameo gig is not an easy gig. Those songs, Strange and that funk in that pocket. I was just gonna say it's very.
You've got to know the song, and you know the song. That's the music we grew up on. But as you say, knowing the song and performing it when it has such a. It's not normal music. It's Cameo music, and there's a pocket. There's a pocket. Yes, there's a timing to it that require you have to work at that. So I would imagine you were pretty intimidated going into that gig.
Well, I was as prepared as I could, and a little. I didn't have time to think about being intimidated. A little nervous, but and besides, I had played a little bit before, but just playing the gig and playing those songs, and not knowing what we're gonna do, trying to get to because it's a mental thing. It's one thing to play it. It's a mental thing to be able to visualize where you're going or what have you. But looking back on it now, I would have done things a little bit differently. I would have prepared maybe a little differently, just sitting down, playing some of those things, because because even to this day, you know, when Aaron and I play, we don't play much cameo stuff when we do play together. And we still do play together. Matter of fact, my last gig last month, Aaron and I, we did a trio. We don't play no cameo stuff. We play all kind of other stuff, the cameo stuff. But even when I sit down and play, if I play a cameo song now, like Candy, that song is specific, you know, and playing that beat specifically, I believe in trying to do it justice, and it's not something that's just something anybody can just sit down and just jump on and play.
Yeah, it's got its own kind of swing. It's got its own, you know, funk is funk, but then there's cameo funk. There's something different about it.
It's something different about it, man, and I loved it, and man, to this day, man, it cameo song. Well, I'm partial now because Aaron, you know. Because Aaron, and I will say this about my dude Aaron, man, that's my boy. I love him to death. He's a great guy. He's just as humble, you know, as he can be, and I'm so honored and just so happy to have a friendship with him. You know, he's just musical and just outside of music. He's just a great guy. We've known each other for many years now. I got him a gig playing at a church. We were playing at a church, and we played at that church for, I think, 10 plus years. Wow, really? And man, talking about going to church, man, that was so cool being at it. We never probably ever rehearsed. We would learn songs on the fly, talking about being creative. And the pastor, he would just let us have. I guess you couldn't contain that tiger.
No, you just got to let it go.
Yeah. With me and Aaron, and then adding in Wayne Key, which is the brother of John P. Key, the gospel great John P. Key. Wayne Key on guitar and singing. Man, just basically the three of us. Man, we would just go for broke. Man, we'd be playing all kind of stuff in church. Man, stuff that I didn't realize. When I look back and listen, that's what we was playing. Glad we didn't say no words.
Do you have recordings? Do you have recordings from it?
I have a lot. Recordings that I would just put on my DAT, my DAT machine at the time, whatever. Just having us playing, man. And man, I'm telling you, those were some good days, man. Good days. So
that's the way it's supposed to be. Just jump into it, man, and just
jamming, man. Professionalism and musicianship. You know, now granted, if I always think, man, what if we did rehearse, man? If we were to, and when we did Aaron stuff, Aaron has his own Aaron Mills project, and we've done shows together with him, and we definitely had to rehearse for that because it was a show. We had to learn stuff, but if we just were able to just rehearse as a band or trio and put some things together, it would be, I don't know what it would be. I don't know how much it would change because we play so much stuff organically, and we come together. We play so often and so much. It just works together. So that's that, man.
Are you a multi-instrumentalist, or are you just a drummer?
I'm going to say safely I'm just a drummer, but I have learned enough theory to be able to put some chords down, record, produce, and play some keyboards. But I cannot say I'm a keyboard player. Okay. I can't. I'm not going to call myself a singer, even though I can, you know, sing an idea. You know, one of the last songs I wrote, I sung the scratch vocal and never could get anyone to sing the real vocal, so the scratch vocal is still on there as a guide, but it's still a guide.
Do you have any of your work? Do you have any of your work out on Spotify or YouTube or anything like that?
I have. I'll say we have. My buddy and I, Jay, my dude. We have something out. It's on YouTube. It's 50-50. 50-50 makes 100%. That's something we did here back a couple years ago. And that cat, man, my dude Jay, he moved to Massachusetts last year. He and I did something together, and that's just one thing. I can't think of anything else that I've actually put out or whatever. I think it's on Spotify and on Apple Music and YouTube or whatever. But we did that. We wrote that.
And what's the project called?
We call it 50-50 project.
50-50. Let me look this up real quick. Let's see.
Yeah, look up 50-50, man. Yeah.
Did you spell 50, it? Did you spell it out, or did you use the numbers?
We spelled it out. Yeah, 50-50.
50-50 project.
It should be too hard to find on YouTube. You might, if you look it up, and if you like it, you might be the fourth or fifth or sixth person to like it, or I can send it to
you. I found the 50 project.
No, it's 50, or if you just put down 50-50, I wouldn't call it the project. Just
Oh yeah, okay. Let's say 50-50.
Yeah. And if you put in Jay Ferris, he would come up because it's under him and Arto Funk. Arto Funk is what I go by musically.
Jay. Arto Funk. I'm gonna find this. I'm not gonna give up till I find this. Let's see.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Arto. And this I wasn't trying to plug anything, but that's fine. You asked. That's cool.
Hey, man, there we go. 50-50 featuring Arto Funk. Jay Ferris.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it, man. That's my dude. Love that cat, man. I met him a few years ago. He got fired. That's the word that I described that cat, man. Just a neat guy, man.
I'm gonna check that out. I'll link it up. I'll link it up to this episode so the listeners can check that out.
Sweet, yeah. That was just off the cuff. We just did that, and I think I might have played the drum. I think one take did that was real quick. We put that together. And Jay, obviously, when you hear it, he did most everything. I wrote, I think maybe a verse, a bridge, or something. He did most everything else. But anyways, that's
so. You don't have you've never had like a real desire to start your own project and put it out there for people then.
Not my project. I've had the desire for years to do production work, and for years I did some little things. Well, everything was kind of small, but well, I won't have no play on words on that because I'm still short. I didn't grow any.
Oh, come on, man! You didn't get any taller.
I didn't get any taller, truthfully.
Hey, but I'm not the tallest thing either. I'm barely 5'8".
I heard you say that with your wife the other day, man. It's like, yeah, but I was like that. You seemed so much taller back then, I guess. But no, I done little things, man. Actually, I did something with Walter Johnson. That's something that came to mind too. Walter Johnson. I did the one song I wrote, Face to Face, again many years ago. Walter Johnson. He put it on his project, and that comes to mind. And I think he and I did that together, but I did the majority of that whole song, and it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to because the mix wasn't right, and it just a whole lot of stuff.
Okay.
And I guess that experience just kind of let me sit back more because I couldn't control it the way I wanted it to. I couldn't make it the way I knew it should be, and it was out of my hands. And
that's a big issue with me, being able to control the sound, control the whole writing and recording process. And I think that's very much the reason why I'm a solo artist and I'm not part of a band. Right. I have to do things myself. I have to control it myself. Now I'll bring in a friend. I have a real good guitarist, probably one of the best guitarists in Norway, my boy Henning, who comes in, and I ask him from time to time to throw a guitar down. Right. But I have to do it myself.
Go ahead, keep talking.
Well,
where did this come from, man? Why, John? Where did this come from? What would make you think of doing something like this?
I tell you, I'm telling you, man, because when I first heard Prince, I heard that album for you. I heard that album for you, and then I remember falling in love with that, and I remember thinking, I got to check out this band.
Right.
I thought the name of the band was a band
Prince.
called Prince. But again, on that radio station coming out of Akron U, 87 point something, and the DJ said, he said something to he addressed the issue that it was this young teenage kid, 17, 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid doing everything himself. And my jaw hit the floor. Exactly.
Now I will say this though, and I hate to spoil a little of this though. I think now it's come out that some of those things, not all of that stuff and all of those recordings was totally Prince all the time.
Now it's come out that Andre Simone did some bass.
And so did Morris. Morris Day
drums as well.
Drums on some of that stuff. Because the thing with me that always was a major component for me, being a drummer, coming up being a drummer for all those years. If somebody played drums and did something else, that was major to me. That was always major. So I was always drawn by this guy plays drums too, and so that was always. And I would listen now. as I matured and learned more about drumming, I could hear differences. I'm like, well, wait a minute, that's a little different. That groove was a little different than that groove, and now it makes sense. But again, I was still on the same thing. When you said, well, I got to have my music my way, I was like, I just heard Prince. Prince just went on the top of your head. like one of those things. Yeah,
and I can,
we were influenced.
Yeah, you know, and when I found out that was possible to do, I always felt, okay, that's the way I have to do it. And then when I started approaching my music seriously and started doing some serious writing and learning the recording process, that idea, that thought of doing it myself was the only thought I had. I didn't have a concept of a band. I just figured, okay, here's what I want to write. This is the way I want it to sound. I'm just going to do it. And it was a great opportunity for it pushed me into a different level of musicianship. I went from a guy who could I could play the guitar or the keyboards and I could sing, but I could barely do them together at the same time.
Gotcha.
Whereas now that's not an issue. So basically, it's been a learning process. Learn as you go. Right.
And I don't progress.
And I don't think I would have achieved that new level if I had been in a band atmosphere. Sitting here in my studio doing it myself has taught me a lot. It's given me skills that I probably wouldn't have otherwise. Right.
And I will say this, man. It's two thoughts that come to mind as you were saying that, because. Prince did that, and when I look back on how he influenced us, man, at that time, back in high school, I don't know if you remember, I was in a band in high school. I was in a band. It was a gospel group.
New Beginning.
Do you remember?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, New Beginning. Now, and I didn't think I would bring this. Do you know who some of those, who what, at least one of those members of New Beginning, you know who he is now and what he's doing now?
No, tell me.
I'll tell you, because that's my boy. It's still my boy. Eric Dawkins. Eric Dawkins is like brothers, man. He's near and dear to me. Eric has gone on to be very, very successful. You've heard him. You've heard him over the years because Eric has produced and sung on and written a lot of material behind the scenes.
Okay.
Everywhere from Chris Brown, Christina Aguilera to working with Quincy Jones.
Really?
Quincy Jones, to Janet Jackson. Yeah, he was on a Janet Jackson project. Let alone Eric and Anson, they have their own Dawkins and Dawkins gospel group, which I hear they may be coming out with something new. That'd be great if they did. But Eric has been major. And matter of fact, that like that style of singing from Tyrese, Tank and those guys. Everybody knows him out in L.A. He moved to L.A. You go to L.A. and you say Eric Dawkins' name, everybody knows him. He sings now with Harvey Mason. I mean, he's major. But one of the groups that he was in here a few years ago, they named their group Clark Kent. Okay. Because all of the producers and all the singers in that group were behind the scenes, Clark Kents. They're Supermen when they come to producers, but Clark Kent behind the scenes.
That's a great name. That's a great name for a band.
It's great. Now, the guy, Daniels, I think Daniels passed away. I think he was killed in a car accident not too long ago, which was very tragic. But, Clark Kent. So, Eric did a lot of great things, and that made me think of New Beginning. We were together in that group, man. That was it for me, man.
I remember that.
Yeah, you remember that? Wow.
Yes, I do.
I don't know if you ever had it. You probably never heard us, though. I don't think.
I can remember you playing some tapes with some. Yeah,
probably played tapes. Yeah. Some like recordings, some rehearsals.
Yeah, things like that.
Yeah, because we never really. I think we performed in Akron. I remember one time specifically because we performed at the church I was at, but we didn't have too many performances. Matter of fact, I don't know how long New Beginning was together. We might have been together a year or two. It seemed like a lifetime, but man, those relationships with those guys, oh my God, that's
beautiful to have. That's beautiful to have those long-term friendships. See, I don't have too much of that because I've moved so much. And I tell you, I haven't really been home since graduation. I mean, I left. I got out. I was gone.
Yeah. I was like, after graduation, me and John, you went to the left, I went to the right.
Yeah.
We haven't seen each other really hardly. We haven't been together since then, really.
No,
I mean, this is seeing each other on this video, which is great, and we talked, but yeah, we got out of there.
We got out, man.
Yeah, we got out of there.
Wow. No, I was thinking about this whole thing with music.
Mm-hmm.
Have you reached your peak, or do you still have things that you want to do and that you're going to do?
Wow, that question, man! I had a weird feeling that might come up. I had a weird thought about that last night. Good question, and I have to be very honest, man. There's so much more to me in me. There's a saying that goes something like, "Don't die with a song in your heart," or "Don't die without your song being sung," or whatever. And if there was a fear, this is not a fear of mine at all. But if anything else, I wonder whether I'll move on or pass on without doing more music than what I could, which I'll tell you, it's there. It's like so close. It's a matter of fact, this COVID thing has changed a lot, because Jay and I, we still have things that we want to do in the works. When I worked, you asked me about being a musician for years. I only took 2 gigs, but when I played on the Navigator Seas, when I worked with Bosco and Storm, the band, when I worked on a cruise ship back in 2016, I met some amazing musicians, some amazing friends from all over the world that I still love and adore, and have great respect and relationships with. We have these ideas of getting together, wanting to get together and still write, do some things together. Because I did some writing when I was on the ship. But to answer your question, man, I think there's definitely more there that I can do musically, not just drumming, not just playing drums, but just writing, producing, and but then at the same time, obviously I work a 9 to 5. This is not what I do for a living. It's a desire. So it would be a something nice to do. And because of that attitude, that's what makes the difference, versus someone that has to do it. Someone that needs to do it, I'll do it because I really like to. And more so than anything else, it's a relationship. And the last thing I'll say about this is me coming over there to Norway, man. That's the thing I really, really want to do. Get over there.
First of all, you have an open invitation here.
Got you.
First of all, so you have that.
It's going to happen.
When you come here, that would be my dream, is to put you together with my musician friends.
Oh, yeah.
Because now I don't want this to sound like I'm bashing the music environment in Norway, because I'm not doing that. There's some beautiful, talented people here, but it's different.
I can understand. I can understand. You don't have to say much.
If you were to come here as a drummer with the musical foundation that you have, I think people's jaws would hit the floor. There's some fantastic drummers over here. I know some great drummers, but it's different. If you know what I mean.
Let me see. I like to see that, because over the years, man, I maintain a certain level of musicality, but here lately, man, it's like when I hear these young guys, when I hear these, so many chops. Chops was a word back when I was coming up, but now chops is a bigger word. Yeah. But I've learned a different respect to music, because it's like wine, like fine wine. When you let something mature, the other things that's not that necessary, necessary, kind of, you put them aside. Now you still keep an arsenal. I still keep some arsenal. I still got some tricks in my pocket, but I find myself, not using them much at all. Because it's not necessary, it's not called for, and then again, I don't think much of an ego too much to try to impress or try to. No, which
you do what's necessary for the song.
Yeah, do for it's all about the music. Yeah, and then the major thing right now is just having the ability. COVID has changed a lot. Not being able to play out or what have you, but getting over there, man, I would be humbled to learn. I wouldn't be coming. Trust me, I wouldn't be bringing nothing but just just a humble soul looking to learn and grow.
We would have to see the timing of it because even though Norway is not getting hit by COVID, it's not even close to the way it is back home in the States. But there's still a lot of restrictions about, crowd size and all that stuff. Right. But if things were opened up 100% and there was a lot of opportunities to play, there are so many jams that you could walk in on.
Oh man, that would be awesome, man.
You would get your opportunity to sit and play with some fantastic musicians. Just in my city alone where I live is more than enough of a music environment to where you could. Yeah, you wouldn't be bored.
Oh yeah. Oh, not at all. Well, no, being around you bored, that's impossible. Impossible, man. It's impossible. And I will say this too, man. You and your wife, man, that is so inspiring to listen to you two.
Oh,
it is so inspiring to hear you guys. I mean, she is like a jewel, and the way you treat your wife, man, I'm like, dude, that's got to be love, man. You correct her English. That's so funny, man. I'm like John can get away with that stuff, man, but I know you don't because
we play. Our relationship has been based on humor and teasing back and forth.
I see.
From day one.
I see. Because she didn't like you at first. She was like, I didn't like him at first, or something along those lines.
No, what it was, our friend who introduced us had told her ahead of time that I was a bodybuilder. And she's like, I don't want to meet, a bodybuilder because she's used to that bodybuilder, a meathead who doesn't know anything about anything and stuff.
Right.
And then she comes and meets the kid.
Right. The kid. Yeah.
Who at that time was a bodybuilder, but I was more than that. My life was not centered on bodybuilding. So, luckily things matched up and we got the chance to get to know each other. But from day one, man, I've been and the way we talk on on those 2 podcast episodes. Now that's only 2 podcast episodes, but that is a typical. Like a Saturday or Sunday morning, the kids are in the kitchen eating breakfast while we're sitting out on our porch just talking. That's how
it's like it every day. Yeah. I mean, and I loved it, man. I loved it. That's why I had to message you and say, man, this is great, man. I love hearing it, and her accent, like you say, people love her accent, man. She has the coolest accent.
I think it is. I tell her, I hope you never learn proper English. Keep all those mistakes that you have because it's beautiful.
Her English is a whole lot better than some. It's better than slang sometimes, because you can at least understand what she's saying, and that's great, man. She does great. She's
got the only thing I tell her that's missing is because she has a beautiful voice. You can hear the tone in her voice when she speaks.
Right.
She's got a beautiful sound to her voice, but she cannot control it. She cannot sing in tune or in key. She's the furthest thing from a musician I've ever seen in my life. Aaron, let me tell you, and this is the truth. This is the truth now. She would sing bedtime songs to our kids. I'm talking about when they were like maybe 2 years old. They can barely talk, and they would say, "Mama, can you stop, please? Can you stop?"
They would either say, "Stop," or "Go to sleep real quick."
They'd be like, "Mama, can you just stop?" But
because I guess they knew the difference between what mom and dad.
Well, they're half mine. Wow. They're half mine. So
half yours. Yeah, so they had half of me saying stop. That's funny. I would love to hear her. I would love to hear her take one.
I told her the only thing that's missing is you can't sing or play an instrument. If you could do that, you'd be perfect. And I also tell her. I say, you've got me for life. I'll never leave you. I'll never look at another woman. But if they ever invent a time machine and I'm able to go back to Joni Mitchell, 1974, 75, I'm done with you.
Wow.
I told her I'm done with you.
You know what? Man, I just watched the interview with Joni day before yesterday.
Okay.
It was Rock Legends. Oh my God, man. I grew up, I appreciated Joni Mitchell years later because of Prince, because, and I just found out that Prince that one album she did, I can't remember. I guess the album with a Case of You on it or whatever. But he revered that one of his top favorite albums,
Yes.
which I'm gonna go check. Matter of fact, I already put it on Apple Music. But
You haven't heard?
Oh man,
You haven't heard? What's that? Yeah, Blue. Blue is the name of the album with Case of You
Blue?
and all of that. Yeah, that's the name of the Joni Mitchell
I heard
album.
Case of You. Yeah, I have to hear more of it.
Got to check
'cause
out that whole
there's a
album. It's
lot
called
of-
Blue.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I've missed out on. But it's a lot that I
And she
haven't missed
had-
out on. Joni, she's awesome.
She had that fantastic jazz band, a bunch of white dudes playing some of the best jazz I've ever heard.
Well, she had Jocko. She had Jocko.
Well, this is before that. Yeah, she had him. She had Jacko, but going before that, they were called the LA Express.
Exactly. Yeah, they had that on this Rock Legends.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. You're
That
exactly
is,
right. The Express.
Joni, if I could go back that's the only thing that would make me leave my wife. If I could go in a time machine, go back to like 1974, 75, and Joni. I'm sorry.
Right. And
Goodbye,
there's no
Snoop.
such thing. Yeah. There's no such thing as a machine. Okay. Now, granted, you can be regressed.
Well,
we're
she
gonna keep
told
that
me-
thing going.
Well, she
What's
told
her
me.
thing?
Well, she told me that if Tom Cruise ever asked her to go out to dinner, she would go. So see, that's my revenge. So that's my revenge.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, they call that a pass or something. We ain't gonna go there. We're not gonna dwell on this subject at all. Okay, that's the period in that point. But yeah, man, Joni Mitchell. Yeah, that's great, man. And I have to say this though, because I wrote this name down when we were talking about music, and it's important for me to mention it because there's themes that go through this conversation, and Prince obviously is a major theme. But I'll mention this name because this guy is so awesome to me that I love, and when I describe this guy, this is the way that I can describe this guy, and I'll say his name in a little bit. But when Prince died, I was on the ship. I was working on with Royal Caribbean. I was on the Navigator to Seas back in 2016. I came in from a really nice day, turned on CNN, and Prince dead at 58, 57, and I was just totally, obviously shocked.
Yeah.
I couldn't get too emotional because I was too much in shock. I remember just standing, just couldn't believe, sat down, and that whole ship was purple for that day because I had all my Prince stuff. We played Prince music. But this guy, his name is Jacob Collier. Jacob Collier. The way Jacob Collier is, he helps me deal with Prince's death, to put it that way. I mean, he's not just that good. I mean, he's something else. He's really something else. Jacob Collier. And I mentioned that kid just because he's no longer a kid. But he can kind of remind you of Prince in a sense. But he's like a Prince 3.0.
Okay.
Prince was just, organic, just self-taught. Jacob is everything from double sharp major minors to he's very, very educated. I mean, he's on first name with Quincy. As a matter of fact, I think Quincy might have helped discover him. He's from England. But this latest thing that Jacob did, this tiny desk that he did by himself, you got to check that out. If anything, that's the latest thing I think. It's just amazing, and it fits all the elements. Not only does he play these instruments good, like Prince would do, he plays the snot out of them. I mean, it makes you want to break your sticks. Now, Prince was great, to get it, and it's hard for me to. I can't compare him, even though I am in a sense. But I'll go back to say that when Prince died, Jacob Collier helped breathe more life, for me, because there's a saving grace. Now there's a Jacob Collier, rest in power, Prince, but we got Jacob Collier to go on and on and on.
I'm gonna check him out. And you say he did one of those Tiny Desk concerts?
Do the latest Tiny Desk?
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll check that out.
It's the latest one he did, and he did it. It's him by himself, but he splits the screen up, and you got to see it.
I'm gonna check that out.
I've only watched it once because if I would have watched it twice, that would have been just too much for me. It's time for me to watch it again. It was just that amazing, and
I'm gonna check that out.
Just love it. You got to. I love Jacob. So
have you met him? Have you met him?
No, I haven't been able to meet him. Matter of fact, COVID prevented me from going to his concert because I had tickets. Me and my boy Paul had tickets to go here back in May. and it was canceled. So I haven't had a chance to meet Jacob because he's like I say in London. He's from London and he hasn't been around. Yeah, I wish I could. He might know Eric. He might know of Eric because of the Quincy Jones connection. But man, Jacob is crazy.
I'm gonna check him out, man. I'm gonna do that. I love watching those Tiny Desk concerts. I got a newfound love for Derek Trucks.
Oh yeah.
Good
yeah.
Gosh, I've always been aware ever since he was just a kid, like around 2001 and 2 when he started playing with the Allman Brothers Band. I was aware that this kid's talented on the guitar, but there was a Tiny Desk concert with him and the Tedeschi Trucks Band.
Yeah,
and I was like, whoa! And then I went back and started looking at all the stuff that he's been doing, and that dude, man. Dude.
He's tough. He's tough. He's connected. He's connected with one of the guys that I really loved that I had a chance to meet once. Oteil Burbridge. Oteil Burbridge, bass player, fantastic cat, man. Hey, they're connected.
Let's do some name dropping. Who is the most famous musician or person in the music world that you've actually met and had a chance to talk with? I think I got you topped, but let's hear what yours is.
This just happened this year. I think it just happened this year, and I got a picture to prove it. and it's the one and only Sir knows. He's not devoid of funk. George Clinton. I was going to go down. Mr. George Clinton himself.
Wow.
Had a chance to holler at him. We would sit on stage and just, backstage. I know his drummer, man, Benzel is just he's a beast, by the way. He's behind that scene playing drums, funk. But he is a beast drummer because we hang out. We go when he comes to town. We hang out. We go to the music store and he just kills stuff.
Yeah.
His dad is the trumpet player for P-Funk and for Parliament. But George Clinton and I, we had a chance to just talk about his mom, because he's from North Carolina. George Clinton's from North Carolina.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And so I brought that up, and he was like, "Yeah, my mom. I remember my mom being out here in Greensboro, enjoying my shows, and we had a chance to talk a little bit. And I took a little selfie with him, man. So
how old is he now? He's got to be in his middle 70s, I would think.
Yeah, he has, man. He's immortalized. He's fine. As far as I see, he looked well. He cleaned up. He definitely got out of all that. He cleaned up and just still straight mind and great. But George Clinton, I had a chance to meet him, and I can't say I met Prince. The only time that I had an interaction with Prince, I don't think I told you this, was in Atlanta, and it was an after show, and it just happened to be I was in between the stairs and whatever that area was. Prince was upstairs. It was a converted theater. He walks down the stairs, and it's just he and I'm a few feet away from him.
Yeah.
But nobody had seen him at that point. And I was so shocked. The girl that I was with, I was like trying to wave her over to come see him. My first reaction, was to get my camera phone to try to take a picture of him.
Okay.
And he looks at me and he's like, I was like, come on. I was like, it didn't come. Actually, I think I tried to take it. It didn't come out. And he kind of, by that time, people start seeing him. Come on down, Prince. And he just turned and walked away. So that was my only interaction.
What year was that?
That was back in, was it 2004 or 14? Was this 2000? I'm gonna say 2014. I think that was the musicology tour. I think so. That
2004. 2004.
Yeah. I think that was the musicology tour when he went to Atlanta. We joined out Atlanta.
2004 then. Yeah.
And that's the only. So I can't count that as meeting Prince because I didn't get a chance to say hey and ask him about Camille or whatever. I didn't get a chance to do any or just go ahead.
No, I was gonna say here's my Prince experience. 2011. Now this was the day after that terrorist Breivik guy shot up all these people in Oslo. Prince had two shows. He had one the same day that all those shootings happened, and then we went the second day. We were living way up north, so we had left the kid, our daughter, with a babysitter, and we had come down to Oslo, and we had floor tickets. This is in an auditorium. This is in the Oslo Spectrum. I don't know. Does it hold maybe 10,000, 15,000 people? And we had floor tickets, and we were one of the first people in the door, and we go in and we fast walk right up to the stage, and they had the barriers set up so that if anybody on the stage were to lean over, and if we were to lean across the barrier, you could actually touch hands. That's how close we were. Right at the stage. Not quite center. It was a little bit off to the stage left, but pretty much front and center. Gotcha. So he comes out, and fantastic show, by the way. I don't even have to describe the show. Fantastic show. Yeah. But he comes to the side of the stage, and you haven't seen any pictures of Snoopy, but she's got a rather dramatic look to her. She's very, she's hot. She's got the long strawberry blonde hair and the body and everything. And I'm a big dude, muscular powerlifter. So we people look at us. So Prince comes. I don't remember what song he was playing, but he's playing a guitar solo, and he comes to the side of the stage. And he looked, and he locked eyes with Snoopy, and then he looked at me, and then he kind of like, and just gave a nod, like, yeah. I love it. And I'm like, I felt like I was blessed by the Pope.
I'm giving you a hand. I'm giving you a yeah, man.
It was like being blessed by the Pope or something.
You were, yeah. I'm the dominant.
And then later on in the show, by that time he had worked up a sweat, and he comes back over by us again, and he's playing the guitar, and he kind of, he's very physical when he performs. So he kind of like spun while he was playing, and he actually sweated on us.
Wow!
So I got,
you got the black sweat.
I got the black sweat.
I love it.
So that was my Prince experience.
Yeah, you got it.
And what I thought was interesting about that show was that he did very little singing. Most of that show was instrumental. He played songs. I can't tell you what they were. I don't know what they were. It was just jamming, jazz.
He might have been, the 2011, because that was when he probably had.
Yeah, John Blackwell. He had
John Blackwell.
He had Ida, the Danish woman on bass. He did not have Rhonda Smith. I wish Rhonda Smith would have been there.
Yeah. I got a chance to. Go ahead.
He had
Renato? Did he?
No, he didn't have Renato. He had Morris. Yeah.
Morris.
He had Morris.
Morris.
And he had old girl on guitar. What's her name? Man, I can't remember. What's her name? Her. Old girl, yeah, her. And then he had
we gotta be careful, not her.
And then he had another keyboardist, a lady on keys, and I can't remember her name. I remember
that band. I'm thinking that was that the Hit and Run or One Night Alone? That was. I have to go back and
this was 2011.
2011.
Maybe it was a Hit and Run tour, wasn't it? I think it was
might have been a Hit and Run. Yeah, he did, or that was something different because I don't.
Yeah,
it's hard. They kind of get jumbled together, man.
But they jazzed it up, man. It was a lot.
Yeah.
And I he had this one part where he played. It was like a 5-minute solo. The band was just vamping behind him, and he played like a 5-minute solo. Left hand fretting the guitar, right hand soloing on the keyboard. Yeah. And, people can pull that off, for like a quick little flash. This man soloed for like 5 minutes doing that.
Yeah. He was just mind blowing. And at that time, I can't wrap my brain of that time period, but it sounds like it may be either in that news era or expand, or what was that? Expose,
wasn't it? Yeah.
Expose something, experiment, the X, whatever.
Yeah.
That he did and then he also did those cuts that came out later on. where he was just doing sound checks, and they became like Nakashak or Japan stuff. So I can't remember the time frame of that, but that sounds like it would be ideal to me. And I do have to mention when you said John Blackwell, I did have a chance to talk to him a few times. God rest his soul.
Yeah.
I know he
aneurysm, wasn't it?
Passed away. Yeah, aneurysm. But a tumor. Yeah, because tumor. He lived with that for a little while. But man, that was. I remember actually Aaron Mills called me the day he died on July 4th, when he died on the 4th of July a couple of years ago. Aaron Mills called me and let me know, because see, I don't know if many people know this, and you may not know this, but John Blackwell got his start with Cameo.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Matter of fact, if you go back and look at the Sinbad 70s jam, the 70s shows that Sinbad used to do on HBO, that was awesome, where he did all those bands. That was classic. Yeah. That was John Blackwell playing with Cameo for that particular show in Aruba back then. John Blackwell. I got stories about that, what they could nickname him.
I miss John Blackwell, man.
I miss him so much. That was a sad day. He was a nice guy. I met him on a couple occasions with Prince, man. But man, he was to me one of Prince's best drummers.
So you had
ever.
So your name drop is George Clinton. That's a good one. And you ran into Prince backstage in Atlanta. Yeah. That's a good one, of course. My name drop, I got two of them.
Okay, I'm listening.
There was a contest, a songwriting contest here in Norway. I'm going to tell you who was doing this later, but it was a songwriting contest, and it was for rock or metal, right?
You told the story, I think.
Did I tell you
podcast.
this?
Yeah, well, no, you told it on your podcast with your wife, but keep going, though. I think I know what it is. Yeah. I'm going to listen.
So I submitted a song which was not rock. It was not metal. It was a laid back funk / R&B thing. And the person running this thing in conjunction with a band that he had discovered and then produced and was financing was Eddie Kramer.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember hearing this story. I just listened to it like a couple days ago.
I guess I did say, I guess I did talk about that on the pod. Yeah, okay, I did. Yeah, so you heard this story. But that's great. Well, that says a lot, though. I mean, it was real cool to meet him, but that says a lot about Snoopy and her personality. Now, she was pregnant, like 8 months pregnant with our daughter at that time.
Right.
Her belly was, she's a short woman, tiny little thing, and her belly was sticking out further than she is tall.
Yeah.
And I can still see it. She wound her way through this crowd of headbanging metal people and literally grabbed Eddie Kramer by the jacket and pulled him over to me. And I got to talk with Eddie Kramer for like 15 minutes.
Awesome.
I will never forget that. And it tripped him out so much that I had the guts to submit that song. He remembered the song because it stood out, because it was nothing like anything else. And from that, I got the invite to bring my band at the time and play at his, I guess it was like a release party.
Right.
That was so much fun, man. I'm telling you, it was at a big house and a big property right at the edge of the ocean down south in Norway. And the house had this big balcony, like 1.5 stories up. And then down on the lawn was all of these people. I don't know, was there maybe 300 people there, 350 people. And those people were crazy and ready for live music. So me and my band, we played my songs that I had worked with them. And then we played them again. We did 2 sets with the same songs. And then I had to stop because I had lost my voice. And then my band kept playing, doing cover songs, man, for the rest of the night. It was crazy. You
man. Guys didn't have, luckily you didn't have that Prince Rolling Stone experience stuff. The Rolling Stone.
No, and I was real skeptical about how it was going to go, with this being like a rock and a metal crowd.
I'm listening.
I lost the video. That's okay.
No, just keep going.
They loved us, man. They loved us. That was one of my most favorite live performances I've ever had. So Eddie Kramer, I got to meet Eddie Kramer.
That's cool, man. I have to tell you this, man. The people that I have to tell you about that was amazing, and this is a full circle moment. was the revolution, man. I had a chance to meet Wendy and Lisa and Bobby and Brown Mark. They came to Raleigh, and I had a good friend, and she's a good friend. She's a friend, and we haven't talked in a long while, but she knew Bobby's wife, Bobby Z, who thank God got over he had a sickness. He had some health issues.
Yeah.
But she was able to connect us, and backstage, next thing I know, man, I'm backstage with Wendy and Lisa. And at that time, I was in Raleigh. What's his name? This is after Prince died. They were doing the reunion thing. Miguel had performed across the street at the bigger venue, and he was backstage, and Wendy was just loving Miguel, man. And I actually got a little video of this and a little picture, a few pictures I was taking. Brown Mark was back there, Wendy, Lisa. But you know who I was really, really, really happy to meet at that show?
Brown Mark.
To top it off, no, Brown Mark was great. No, that was fine. No, it was the guy next door, the guy that was the way they had the what's it called? Draping. I forget how it's. In other words, how they set up their dressing rooms backstage, or at least their changing room, which has dressing rooms, where they have the black curtains and they have it separated backstage. Yeah. This guy performed, he's one of my greatest. I love this guy so much, and one of my favorite band, Mint Condition, Stokely. He performs with them, know. So Stokely, I had heard Stokely was going to be there. Now this is after the show, and I had met Bobby Z earlier in that day, and I asked him about Stokely because I didn't know he was going to be there, and someone mentioned it, so I asked Bobby Z about it as he was passing through. He said, yeah, he'll be around. So after the show, when he saw me, Bobby Z said, hey, man, you asked about Stokely. Here, come with me. So he takes me out and opens up the curtain, and there Stokely was, just by himself. I was like, dude, Stokely. I was like, Doc. I said, man, I usually don't get starstruck, man, and I usually don't do this. I said, but I got to tell you how much I appreciate you, man. I'm a drummer myself, and how much you do for us, man, and just how I just want to let you know how much I appreciate you and enjoy you. And I asked him for, a selfie. He took a selfie, and this is I guess name drop, but this is my cousin Fred, my cousin Fred Hammond. I always got to mention Fred because that's my dude. I mentioned Fred, and he said, yeah, man, we're supposed to be doing something together. I said, that would be awesome, because Fred is an awesome bass player. Okay. So we had a chance to talk. He gave me his email. I emailed him. He replied. And to me, if you talk about name drop, because Stokely, man, I forgot about that. I forgot about when you were saying this. I was like, yeah, I met Wendy and Lisa in the Revolution, which is, was what we were loving, Wendy and Lisa. But the Stokely connection to me, I was Stokely, man, because that dude, a hell of a drummer. I can say hell, I guess, on this, but Stokely as a drum, that's what he started out as, a drummer. Okay. Just killer drummer and everything else, man. So yeah, man, that's our
condition. Thing, man. That's a lot of good music up through the years, man.
Oh yeah, love Mint Condition. Yeah. We up hour and 38 minutes. Go ahead. I'm loving it, man. I'm loving it, man. I told you we was gonna talk.
I also got to meet. I had a 2.5 hour car drive alone with Elliot Mazer, Neil Young's producer.
Okay, yeah. I didn't know that name.
Elliot produced Neil Young's Harvest album. He produced a lot of Linda Ronstadt's early stuff. He produced Janis Joplin back in her day.
Ooh, wow!
So we brought Elliot Mazer over here to produce a country album that I had written for. I had written a country album for a friend of mine. And you laughing at me.
I got a joke in my head, but go ahead. I will leave it here till later.
and we brought Elliot over to produce that, and I was, because I can remember seeing his name on the back of those Neil Young albums, and then to fast forward to that time where I'm actually working with him in the studio. Wow. Was mind blowing. I'm still not over that. It was just absolutely amazing. And then we had that first session, and then I'm gonna cut a lot. I'm gonna edit the story a lot because I don't want anybody to. But he ended up having to leave the studio, and someone had to drive him back, and so I volunteered to do that, and to sit and talk music and get feedback. I mean, he jumped, he dove headfirst into my lyrics.
Wow.
And was giving me, and to get that kind of feedback from somebody like
man.
that. Oh man, I'll never forget it.
Never forget it. Yeah,
I will take that experience with me to the day I die.
Wow, awesome, man. That's awesome. I think about those kind of moments that we have in life, man, and it makes me think of now. Well, I was going to go off in another direction.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I do want to hear your joke, though. I want to hear your joke about me writing a country album.
That's when I said, I guess my thought was, you see, you moved to Norton back at 3 years old. See, that's your head start in Norton.
I would not have been able to write that country album.
You wasn't in Norton at a younger age. See, I was able to get through Rankin in my elementary school years, all the way to 6th grade in the urban city of Akron. So that kept me from writing a country album. Well, anytime before then. But let me say this with that banjo.
But let me say this about writing that album. Now, I wrote it for a friend of mine. His name is Episdoe. He's a big figure in music Norway. Everybody knows who this guy is. He's part normally he is in the Remy Brothers band. It's him and his brother Henning. Henning is probably my best musical collaborator.
I know that name. You said that name several times. Yeah.
So Øystein is his brother, and together they had the Remy Brothers band. But Øystein did that solo project where he wanted a country album. And as the writer for the Remy Brothers band, he wanted me to write for his country album. And while I didn't hesitate to say yes, I said yes right away because I love him. He's like a brother and I wanted to help him with this project. I said yes right away, but right away I also started thinking, oh my God, how am I going to do this?
How am I going to do this? Right.
Because it was such a beautiful challenge. I love a challenge. I love it. I like being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I had to put myself in a totally different place, lyrically, to come out with that stuff for that album because it's it's country music and you have to write accordingly. Right. And what a period of growth that was.
Yeah, and we joke about Norton. I mean, that saved our lives. I think that saved Norton saved our life. I'm forever indebted by living there.
It gave me a totally different childhood, and I have to say, it gave me a much better childhood. Looking at the neighborhood that we moved away from in Akron, I thank my parents for moving us out of there when they did.
Absolutely. And you know what? That's a segue. That's a great segue because you mentioned this. And I'll put the little caveat of Bo Lozoff recording with him when you said, write that name down too. That's major. Well, I did say Bo Lozoff earlier, but some of the best days of my life was recording that album with him. And you can write down, if you want to look that up too. I think that album was Whatever It Takes. Yeah, Whatever It Takes was the album that I recorded with Bo Lozoff, and I consider that's a famous album, even though that's a different type of being famous. But yeah, we'll put that aside. But I'll tell you this, man. This is a segue into something that I think is very, very important. When it comes to what America, the world is dealing with when it comes to this, not just COVID, but the other pandemic of systematic, racism and injustices and inequality. And when you look into it, I've been studying a lot more than I ever have before in my life when it comes to being educated on bias, and being racist and anti-racist. And we are products of, we have a different vantage point, you and I, of moving and not being negatively affected to a certain degree, living and moving to Norton, having parents and having the means.
Yes.
Your father being a police officer, and your beautiful mother, working at was it social work? Was it
federal court judicial system? She worked there.
The judicial system, the
district courts. Yeah.
Right. And my dad having his own business, being a Turner Trucking, the rubbish system or whatever. We had that advantage of moving out there, but we were able to not realize at that time, what poverty was and living in the city. And
because when we left our neighborhood, it was still a good place to live, but it very quickly became a terrible place to live. So, so the timing was right.
Right. And I remember, man, our house had gotten broken into a few times, and it was perfect timing for us because me getting out, at least for me, getting out of that elementary school and going into that real formative year of 7th grade. And see, even though I thought I missed out musically on having that 6th grade experience in middle school, because they didn't have middle school in Akron at that time. No. They had middle school in the suburbs. The schools were totally different. Yeah. Now I will say this though, I think about my brothers, who at that time, they were much younger. Their experiences are totally different, whereas, not to get too personal with my brother's story, whatever, but, money and economics played a major part into, even the drug scene. You had white kids that can afford to buy, this, that, and the other, and then expose it to the young kids, whatever. Now, I'm not blaming and pointing any fingers, but that would have been different. Now, who knows what would have been marijuana in the city would be one thing, but crack in the suburbs is another. That's major difference. And just being able to have that experience changed my life. But I wanted to tie that in because that has a lot to do with how I can relate to kind of both sides of the fence over here now. And I have a lot of friends who don't look like me, don't have my same skin color, but are very near and dear, and we can have those deep, in-depth conversations. That uncomfortable conversation with a black man, that popular YouTube channel that's out now. Our conversations aren't too uncomfortable because of the love that we share with my friendships. But out of that, man, you find out a lot of the systematic race, how in depth and how deep that is here. And I just wanted to mention that.
It is definitely an issue. Go back and check out my episode number 28.
When you did it by yourself, I was going to mention that. Yeah, the one you did by yourself.
I really jumped in headfirst into that topic, into that issue, because it's something that I'm very passionate about. It's unfortunately, there's a lot of people who won't even admit that systemic racism is an issue.
Yeah, that blows my mind. That blows my mind. Don't even see it. And you did a great job, John. That was the first one. I think that was the first one I listened to, which was very on point. And I really, really appreciate it. And you hit a nail on the head when you talked about fear. When you started talking about that fear, I was like, man, you got it. And since then, I've read more, and you talk about, your PhDs and your doctorates and those who are educated in bias, which is a book that I just finished reading. Bias is great, and how to be anti-racist too. That's a awesome book to read.
Well, it's just an issue that people really need to and to discuss it or to admit that it exists or to analyze it does not bring about an automatic admission of guilt, because I think this whole thing about white guilt, I think it just needs to go away. Mm-hmm. If you're not racist, then you're not racist, period. I think there's a lot of people who have no racist bone in their body, but they won't talk about it because they feel that to acknowledge it is to accept some sort of blame.
Right.
I wish people would be a little bit more, people should be more secure in their anti-racism. If you're not racist, then you're not racist, but contribute to putting a light on the issue. I wish there were more people who are doing that.
And that's so on point. What Ibrahim says in his book is either there's racist or anti-racist. Yeah. And one thing that he does talk about that I think is so important. What you're saying, people need to dialogue and talk about it, and people need to admit that we all have racist and anti-racist tendencies. We all do, and sometimes how they juxtapose themselves against each other at times in life. Being able to admit those things can open up a dialogue, open up a conversation.
Yeah. But so many people just slam the door on that dialogue. I could mention, I could say something like, there's bias or straight up racism on police forces needs to be dealt with. Now that is a statement that is non-accusatory. It's just a statement that the issue of racism in police forces needs to be dealt with. And I would think that any reasonable person can get on board with that statement. But too often I make that statement and then immediately people come with, but what about black on black crime? Yeah, but it's not all cops. Yeah, but maybe you're too sensitive. Yeah, but that's not, and it's like, hold on.
You're throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Exactly. And I guess what is an unfortunate truth is that a lot of people that we went to school with are in that category of people who will deny.
Yeah, I don't see color.
Exactly. And my answer
John
to that,
was my friend.
Yeah. And my answer to that, and my answer to the I don't see color thing is there's nothing wrong with seeing color. Just don't treat me any worse because of my color.
Right. And because you don't see color, you may actually treat people differently because you're not acknowledging the differences and the differences that are apparent,
the difference is the history. The difference is the life experience because of color. Because of color. And so it's an eye opener to see some of the people on social media, people that we went to school with, some of the very same people whose parents didn't want me in their home because I'm black. Those people today will deny that there's such a thing as racism in America. And it's amazing. It's amazing.
It's amazing. And be at them rallies. Go to those rallies. And it's
no, not those rallies. It's them rallies. You got it right.
Them rallies. There you go. Them rallies with the D. Yeah, be at them rallies. And again, everybody has a right. I believe in, everybody has a right to understand. But this is such an important time to be educated. I think that's the key. Everybody. Starting with me, starting with myself. I can't say too much if I don't know.
Exactly.
Or at least let me rephrase it. I'm not going to say if I don't know, if I'm not aware, or at least have some kind of education or information behind what I'm saying. Yeah. So if I don't, I'm not going to say too much about it. But one thing that is drawing me to is to actually become more educated myself on history, on our history, on how this systematic, how it was designed, how racism is, how it's embedded, and the importance of affecting change through policies, and the importance of the vote, the importance of the census, the importance of understanding, that the color is actually, it helps us all. If we do see color, we do see what everybody can bring to the table. We can see the differences. We can see, but America's biggest sin, they haven't really dealt with it yet. Hadn't dealt with America's biggest sin yet.
I wish people could see that America would be so much better off if there was an admission and then a dialogue and then some sort of change with the original sin of slavery.
That's where we're at now, I believe. I think that's where we're at.
I think it's happening. You look out at the people who are protesting, and for once, it's not just black faces. There's a lot of white people as well as black and brown.
There's a lot more.
That is the change. Exactly.
There's a lot more than was then. Yeah. Right, that's the chance, because what I've come to understand throughout what I've heard here lately is that is the biggest issue is allies, being able to have more allies, because we can't do this alone.
You nailed it.
We have to, and it goes back to the dialogue. It goes back to education. It goes back to, and then education comes through dialogue, being able to just, like you said, to admit, to open up your mouth and say, yes, this is it. Well, and then from there, let's see what we can do. And it can can be uncomfortable. Yeah, it can be uncomfortable, but man, let's deal with the uncomfortable on this side instead of the uncomfortability through war, through hatred, through all of that other nonsense.
We could be so much better off if we would just deal with that issue.
And we are. I think we are.
I don't talk a lot of politics. I talk about right and wrong. I talk about social issues. However, this time around, I do believe we need a drastic political change. Otherwise, the social change that we need is going to get stifled. So we'll see what happens when the election comes around in November. But I think we need a drastic political change. The political climate is going to stop the social climate from changing. I truly believe that. I truly believe
this is time, and this is something that is right on time, man. And I'm gonna tell you this: it's great. This is great. I love how this is. I
feel something different. I feel something different in the air.
It's definitely something different in the air, and then you get this. I'll call it a semi-bomb or whatever that just brings this all into to play, where you have a relative, a family member, a niece of our president who drops this book,
which I've ordered my copy, by the way.
Yeah. I got mine going to be downloaded on Audible. I listen to books on Audible now. That's just, I have to. I think that's just going to have to be my next book. It's on my wish list. But anyways, I've listened to her interviews, and it's just really something to hear what she's saying. And I'm under the belief, and everything works together in unison for me when it comes to my beliefs, my religion, my politics, whatever. It should all, and it's my strive to operate in love.
Yes.
And love, with love comes understanding and compassion and tolerance and what have you, and even for our president. I do have to have a certain level of compassion for that man.
Sure.
And especially when you start hearing more of his history and what he's going through. And
I think he's damaged. I think he is. I think he has issues. I think, he tries to come across as hard and tough, but I think there is a damaged, vulnerable, weak part of him that he's never dealt with. And we're seeing it. We're seeing it now. And
play out.
Yeah, and he's not to be hated for that. People talk about, you hate the president. I don't hate that guy. I feel sorry for him, and I wish him well. And I wish him well. I always, regardless of who the president is, I always hope that they do well, because if they do well, our country does well. Right now, he is not doing well, and our country is not doing well.
Yeah, he's doing awful, and because of these issues, these issues, I'll just say, it's affecting this country in such not just this country, how it's affecting the world in such a traumatic way, because people are losing their lives. Over COVID, and to listen to, I listened to Mary's interview with George Stephanopoulos. I think that's it. Yeah. She did about an hour-long interview on ABC Live, and man, it was just something to hear. I've listened to the other interviews too that she's made, and it softens my heart, but at the same time, it gives me power to say, look, people, this is a perfect opportunity. You don't have too many excuses. Now, you're going to have your naysayers and people that say, I'm skeptical of her, whatever. You're going to have that anywhere you go. Yeah. But to me, it should be making it easier and easier for you to make that decision in November to make a change, because that's what she's saying, and that's her motivation. And again, I'm not just sending. I'm not just trying to, I guess, be a big rally for her or whatever. It's not so much her personally. It's just what it's representing and what it's saying.
Well, and I think even without her book, if you just look at the way this is played out, forget about her book and all the things that it's revealed. If you just look at him and what he says and does himself,
that alone should be.
and it blows my mind. I have a lot of theories, but I don't have an answer as to why people have jumped along for that ride. I really don't understand what they see there.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
You know,
Well,
that can be speculated on. But I tell you, I just hope that people. I hope, of course, he's going to have his base and he's going to have his followers. But I hope enough people for the last 3.5 years have seen enough to where they can make the proper decision.
Yeah, make a decision for change. And again, you have people that say, "Well, you know, I can't agree with either one of them. It's the lesser of the two evils." You know, whatever. Okay, you know, whatever.
You know what I like?
Whatever you have to say.
I like how we're being very tasteful. We're not calling any names and stuff. And then I think when I talk with my mother on the phone, she says some stuff where I just want to say out loud, "Hey, you know, FBI or whoever's listening, I didn't have nothing to do with it. I didn't say it. She did."
You did. Right. By the way, man, send your mom my love. She's a beautiful, beautiful person.
I'll do
man.
that, man. She still talks about you. She still talks about you.
Oh, your mom is something else, boy, man. Dude, the thoughts and the jokes that we had to see how quickly we move.
Yeah.
But still, you know, I'd love to see her again, man. We may have to do that next time I go to Ohio. Just go swing by and holler at her, man. But I guess it's kind of just to bring that segment, because that's a good segment. I mean, it's necessary for you and I to talk about that. I mean,
absolutely.
I think it would be injustice for us not to listen. You and I, coming from where we come from for our view, and being two worlds apart. You know, I mean, that's important to bring that up. And I think the key to that is just trying, whoever may be listening, if you have questions, ask. You know, talk to people. Be uncomfortable. Be okay with being uncomfortable, because I mean, throughout change, throughout history, you know, I mean, civil rights throughout, you know, America had a Tea Party over taxation without representation. We broke away from what was American Revolution. You know, there was some pain and strife that came with, you know, change. You know, and that's what we're dealing with, change, and it's necessary. It's time, and where are you going to be on the side of history when it comes to, you know, what decision did you make? You know, where was your mind? Where was your conscience when you had that opportunity to look at yourself? Because
if people would
at the
engage,
end of the day,
if people would, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, at the end of the day, it boils down to how you look at yourself.
Yes.
And how I'll bring in that communion and that community. I'll bring that in right now, because your connection with that divine, even if you're atheist, your connection with what you believe in, that's the first step. The second is how you treat that person in front of you. And that's an individual thing, whether it's through politics, however that plays out, through politics, through religion, through whatever, your job, whatever. What I'm trying to do is spark something in whoever may be listening to look at yourself and to look at your heart and then let that guide you. You know, I'm not, whatever you do.
Yeah. Because I believe that people know what's right and what's wrong. I believe that even a card-carrying, white robe-wearing Klansman knows that racism is a bunch of foolishness. They know that. But for some reason, they have built their entire life or their entire persona or their belief system on this flawed concept of racism. But they know that. But what they lack is the introspection. You've got to look at, as you say, look inside yourself and then make a decision on what do you want your own legacy to be? You know, how are you contributing to your surroundings? Is it a negative contribution or is it a positive contribution? And go from there. Introspection and evaluate yourself and then go from there.
And, you know, people can do that and still come up with, I'm fighting for my race. I'm fighting for these statues.
Yeah, they can, but I would challenge that and say that they need to do a little bit more introspection, because
I understand.
if they're looking out for their race, that's such a limited viewpoint, because we are all connected. I had a great podcast episode with he was the former head of the Child Health Division at the CDC, Centers for Disease Control, Dr. Howell Wexler. And he talked about how there's this ripple effect through society. You know, people look at COVID and they're thinking that it's an illness, but you have to, when you look at that ripple effect at poverty or education, for example, you'll see that people who are impoverished and people who have less education are being more harshly affected by COVID than others. So there's a ripple effect in everything. So that person who says they're only looking out for their race, they're missing that ripple effect. They're missing that that connectivity to the rest of society. They are missing that thing that if their neighbor is doing bad, then that will affect them. But if their neighbor is doing well, and by neighbor I'm talking about maybe another race is doing well, then they're going to do better as well. So they're missing out. There's more introspection that needs to be done.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It takes me back to elementary school in Akron, and there was a book that said, one of our elementary books. What would you call that book? I forget, one of the required readings, or one of the books that we had to read. It was titled "People Need People."
Okay.
That was one of our elementary books back in Akron and Rankin. People Need People was one of those. What do you call those? What was? I forget what it's called.
Curriculum.
Well, that was too big of a word. I mean, curriculum.
Say that 10 times fast.
One of our just books. People need people, and it wasn't. I forget. In other words, that just comes to mind. Yeah. People need people, and we're here.
It's very basic,
in this thing together. Yeah,
it's a very basic and simple thought. Actually, it's not complicated,
and it's the truth. It's not complicated. We make it complicated, but that comes along with the territory, and it takes individuals like what we're doing here to communicate and to share and to offer our hearts and offer our minds and to sacrifice, to say, hey, I don't mind saying what I need to say, and don't mind offering up what I need to offer up for the greater good, whatever that might be, that might be, man. So I'm glad that we touched on this, and who knows what it will spark, great if it sparks controversy. I don't know if we've said much controversy. Well, it depends on who's listening. I'm sure
there's some people out there who don't agree. Yeah, there's some people out there who aren't going to agree with what we talked about, or they're going to think it was boring to listen about Prince or whatever. But I think I think that this is an episode that people can get some. I always want my podcast episodes, to leave something on the table for my listeners to pick up.
Good deal.
I think that we've done that. But here's a question: when are you coming here, man? When are you coming?
Oh, when am I coming? Okay, this is what I said, and I'm glad you asked that, because now I can commit to something. Next year may be a little too soon, because I got an Alaska thing going on next year.
Okay.
But in that would be 2021. 2022, I have to say for sure. 2022.
We just have to make it happen, man. Because I tell you, I don't know. I've been here, so I don't know what's interesting. But I think just you being here and drinking in the society and how people live here, and I'll introduce you to my friends. I'll take you to some good music spots and things like that.
Yeah, I got to learn some of that language. I love learning language. I can speak quite a bit. I've been one that can pick up on language as well, and I want to do that.
I picked up on
just kidding.
I picked up on Norwegian.
Your wife said that.
Yeah, I picked it up.
She explained that.
Yeah, I love it. I'm so proud that I can speak the language. It's a beautiful language, man. And if you learn Norwegian, it's there's some prestige in that. It's a beautiful language. Yeah.
And I can do it. I had an interest when I worked at a place here for 10 years, Replacements Limited. Give a shout out to my people at Replacements Limited. That was a great experience working there on many, many levels, and on the spectrum. I'll just use that word, spectrum. Some people might know what I mean when I say that for right now, but that was just a great experience working there. And one of the keys that I took away from working at Replacements was the diversity. They had primarily they had Serbs and Croatians, a lot of families and individuals that came over after their war were able to work there for to cut the story short. And I learned a lot of their language, a lot of great people, and then you had other people,
Can you teach me how to curse out a Bosnian Serb? Because
I didn't learn. I can learn. I can tell you some words, and I haven't used the language in a while. But I learned. That's some of the first words you learn in the language.
We had a neighbor that we actually moved from, because my black face was about to get on the front page of the national newspaper for killing somebody. It got bad. We had a neighbor, and Aaron,
wow.
I'm a loving brother. I am so I avoid conflict, but this fella made it hard. He made it real hard to avoid. He made it hard to.
The buttons. Yeah, he pushed the right buttons. You ain't got to say much else. He pushed the right button. And you know what? I had a guy at work that I thought was somewhat that way. Come to find out, God rest his soul, he passed away. Come to find out, he had a way, a humor about him.
Okay.
And we ended up being very close. And his son
this dude wasn't funny.
Too.
This dude wasn't funny.
Was, I learned. I'm sure he wasn't funny if you was going to get put on the news, man.
Man.
Yeah, but that would give me an opportunity to maybe go back and learn some of those words. Because just like anything else, if you don't use it, you lose it.
That is very true.
Yeah. You were talking about how you speak English in your home.
Yes.
And how your opportunities to speak Norwegian have decreased a little bit because of where you live at and because of your surroundings, what have you. And I can understand that because every day I work, and I do this, especially with Spanish. I've made it a point to, if I see anybody to this day, if I see anybody that's of Latino or Hispanic origin, I'll immediately speak to them in Spanish because that's a way for me to continue to practice and learn or what have you. Now, I don't get that many opportunities, and that there's plenty of jokes there, but I won't do that because I'm not joking on people. But learning your language there, or at least having some familiarity, because there's a certain way I've learned on my own. I kind of taught myself in the grade. Now I'm not fluent in any. I'm almost fluent in English. But there's a certain way that I've learned how to learn languages. Certain words that I learn how to ask. Certain words that I do to help me learn more of the language, so that I'm not just It took me actually only a couple of days to understand the grammar structure of Norwegian. Wow.
And then, the structure of it, not the actual words, but the structure of the grammar.
I got
and once I learned that, then it was just a matter of building my vocabulary and turning on my musician's ear to hear the tone, to hear the...
I got you.
Yeah, the fluidity of the language and copy that.
Yeah, that's in depth. See, for me, I learned by words, different words. And it's like Spanish, I say backwards, they say things, backwards, which I don't mean that in a bad way. No, they reverse.
It's just a different grammar structure.
It's different structure. But I didn't learn and still hadn't learned it that much. But the key main thing is that you understand, you communicate. That's the bottom line of it all. No matter what language you speak to, you want to communicate with that person so that you can understand what's going on, whether you need help or whether you need to know where the bathroom is or left or right or whatever, learning some basic things. And that's what I've always done. Certain words that I want to learn, and the major thing that I really found out is just not communication, but what's the word? How you connect with people. That's it.
Well, that's important because
I want to connect.
Yeah, because over here, just about everybody from our age and down understands English perfectly. So I could go around speaking just English if I wanted to, but that would put somewhat of a barrier between true connectivity with people.
Right.
So that is my number one reason for, I want to be able to function properly in society. So that was my reason for learning the language. Of course, for jobs and all that stuff.
Right.
Now I'm doing my own thing, but at that time I needed jobs and, so the language was
necessary.
Key. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
so not just in a job context, but also in a social context. So,
yeah. It's connection. And I tell you what, man, that served me so well because it's, at the end of the day, it goes back to what I said earlier about love and about the heart and about being able to connect. And that's at the heart of just my identity. It's just, being compassionate and being caring.
Like I said, man, you've always been that. You've always been that. I mean, you haven't changed a bit in that sense.
Well, bless your heart and give thanks. Give thanks to God above. And I appreciate that recognition, man. And that just allows me to continue to point in a direction. It's not necessarily about me, even though I'm a vessel, I'm a vehicle. It's about the greater good. It's about the message. It's about all of the things that we've just shared. Everything that we've shared points back to that one thing of, okay, that connection that you have with yourself, with your divine, and how you treat that person in front of you. That's the key, because that person in front of you is not going to always be kind.
That's
it's not going to always be understanding. That person in front of you is going to reflect something in you that you are not aware of, that you're not going to like, that you're not going to accept, that you're going to deny. And at that point, what I'm doing here, what I'm put on this earth to say, hey, at some point in life, you get a chance to shine that light on that thing, on that thing, whatever that thing is. Light gets shined on it, and what that light is representing is an opportunity for you to look at yourself. And when you look at yourself, what are you going to do? I've had some dark things that I've had to look at within myself. We all do. That's living. Sure. But out of that darkness, there comes light, man. And that's what we're doing today, man. That's what we're doing today. We're shedding the light, man. Shedding the love, buddy. That's
and it can sound corny to some people, but I am a true believer in spreading the love.
Absolutely.
I want to make myself as well-rounded as possible, as knowledgeable as possible, as strong mentally, emotionally, and physically, mind, body, spirit, as possible. Mm-hmm. So that puts me in a better position to be able to do for others, because I get joy out of that. I get true joy out of that.
That's so full circle. That is so full circle. And wow, that's the reason why I say full circle, because that's today. This I'll tell you what happened today. And this, I don't know, this may be it, because I think this may be it. This may be drawing the podcast to close, because that's the full circle. What you do for others. Once you get yourself in tune, and once you get yourself to a certain degree, it never stops. You always grow. You always learn. You always expand.
Yes.
When you do that, then you put yourself in a position to share and to help others, and you do that with gladness, and you do that with kindness, and that brings joy, that brings peace, that brings the beautiful things in life. And this morning, I'll bring the story and this is no pat on my back, but this just illustrates what you just said. I get up early in the morning on Saturdays, or at least the last couple Saturdays, and I go just less than a mile, maybe a few hundred yards to a store here that just opened up close to where I live at. It's a neat store, and what you have to do, get up early in the morning and get a number to get in line.
Okay.
For the store to open up at 9:00. And I knew today I wasn't going to be able to get there at 9:00 because I had to meet with my man. So I said, I'm going to get up, I'm going to get a number, and I'm going to give it to my brother Ricky, so that he can get in line and get a nice position in line. So I sent a message out to Ricky early in the morning, 6:15 to be exact. Hey, bro, if you want this number, come on or whatever. And he didn't respond till later on. So I was able to say, you know what, I can give this number to somebody else. So I got in my car and I went to the back of the line, and I had no design, just back of the line. And the first person I saw that was almost like at the back. And this line is real long now, And this is about at 8:40 something. I just rolled down the window and I just held up the number. It was number 34 out of 100 or something. And the lady looked like, wow. And she said, really? I said, yeah, just this. And so they were going to, her and a couple people. I said, no, it's only for one person. She, the other guy, no, you go. And it just made her morning. Yeah. Man, that was so fun. Made me feel so good. And just don't want nothing. Don't know, no recognition. Just hand it to them.
Just do that.
Just do it gesture. And just drive off, that gesture, man. And I'm like, man, and I thought about that, and I was like, man, that would be cool to mention. I didn't think I would mention it here.
But you know what? But
more moments like that.
I was just going to say, it's those little moments like that, such a simple gesture. And who knows how much joy that brought to that lady.
Absolutely.
So, that's the way I try to live. It may sound corny to some people, but for me, it is a way of life. I truly want to do what I can to bring something to someone.
Yep. And you're doing it. This podcast is a perfect thing, man. You've brought so much, man. Yeah, out of me just listening, man, it's so much joy because there's a ton of podcasts out there. It's a ton of them. This is the thing, you can listen to all kind of podcasts.
I try to
Podcast Juice. Podcast Juice is a good one. You might want to check that out too. There's a lot of Prince stuff that you can hear. I'm going to throw that out at you. With my boy Michael Deans. Love that cat, man. You check him out, man. He's great. It's a Prince podcast. Yeah, but what you're doing here, man, is awesome, man. And
thank you.
I pray and hope that it grows and it serves, which I think it's doing exactly what it needs to do now, and I hope it continues to do it.
I feel good doing it, and the response has been well, and I'm looking to make it even more bigger. I'm looking for ways to reach even more people, and but all through from day one up until now, I've been enjoying it. So.
Absolutely, man, and keep at it, man. This is a part of you, man, and we're gonna grow. We got things to do, man. This has been many years in the making, bro.
I tell you, 30-some years, man.
30-some years, but I tell you one thing, man. There is no other time. There's no greater time than now, and I love this, man. And like I said, 2022, that's the year.
I'll be here.
I put it out there. It's on record now. People hear it. I'll be held accountable for it.
You got it.
There's no excuse. I have no reason to not do it unless God has another plan in mind. But he and me and God, we got a real cool relationship, man. I'll tell you, but I got some secrets to tell you. I can't put it on the podcast right now, but I got some secrets that God told me some secrets, man. I'm gonna tell you, Doc, man.
I'm listening. Yeah, I'll be listening. Blow your mind.
I can't put it on the podcast right now because then he told me not to tell everybody at the same time.
Well. See, now we're back in touch.
Yes, sir.
So let's just keep it going. We just got to keep it going.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. So that's good. Let me see. It's 2 hours, about 2 hours and 20-some minutes, man. And, because I can go on, man. What I think is going to happen is that we'll definitely have another podcast.
For sure.
We'll definitely pick up where we leave off, and then maybe I can drop some more of them secrets, man. Because like I call guy like my dude, not say that all jokingly, man. And I'll say this, man, because I thought that this might come up too. We can extend this, but I can't leave without bringing up, that guy back in Tubalo.
back in Tubalo.
See, when you said, John, the way that you have turned out to be, it's amazing to me, man. For you to be a musician, a stand-up comedian, man, and the stuff, I just didn't see it coming. But then when I look at it, it makes all the sense, man, because all of the workings, man, of you and I laughing and joking and talking about one of the greatest comedians of all time. We were raised on this, man.
Absolutely.
It doesn't surprise me that you're doing what you're doing. And yet it's like an extension of what I do, in my everyday comedy, man. Laughter and comedy. I cannot go a day sometime without thinking about old Mudbone. That's who we're talking about,
I tell you, I'm really looking to, and again, things kind of got, the brakes got put on my stand-up to a large degree because of COVID. My plan was I should have been on a summer tour actually now, and then working on my material, building up to a whole hour, and then I was going to film a solo show in December.
Whoa.
So now what I've done is I've just pushed all of that ahead of me 1 year. So December 2021, I have a new goal of having a solid hour, film it and put it out there for people to
sweet.
That's my goal with the stand up.
Sweet.
And I do my stand up in English.
Oh, good. Good,
so that's.
I don't see how you could, man. Well,
I could do it. I could do it in Norwegian, but I lose so. My comedy is based on my life experience, and most of my life is in English.
Yeah. And that's so true. I've learned that.
There's a challenge. There's a little bit of a challenge, although everyone understands English here, or at least the people who come to my shows understand English, but it is a challenge to speak on the things I want to speak on and keep it at a level of English or a way of wording myself so that they understand the comedy. That's an extra challenge, but I like that. But again, I told you before, I love a challenge.
Yeah.
So,
And I like to see that. I like to see your stand up because now, granted, I will say this, man. This is a little feedback, man. When I would listen to your comedy with your wife, man, to me, the comedy was at your comedy trying to be comedic with your wife, and how she wouldn't get it. I'm like, dude, that's hilarious. You know, I was laughing, man.
It's if I could, I don't know how to explain it, but
you're trying to explain
different.
Comedy, and if you have to try to explain comedy,
she is so different. She just doesn't. She has a sense of humor.
Oh yeah,
but it's so different. And I joke. I tell people I don't think she's human. I think she's a robot, and her humor chip is messed up. They didn't quite get the humor chip right with her when they built her, and it's just
they did. They built her just right, man, for her to be in the hood, walking in lost. And man, I heard the stories. I was just like, you know, that was a real good thing of catching up. You know, I mean, you explained, you shared so much in that, man. I was like, man, this helps me get to know my brother. You know, throughout all these years, this fills in a lot. There's a lot more gaps to fill in. You know, but
we're back in touch now. We're back
in touch, man. It's all good, man. And you know, I go back to the comedy thing because, you know, when you said English, that's you. The thing that I found out, and I found out more in depth because I love Dave Chappelle. I'm a big Dave Chappelle fan. I mean, he said, well, I loved him from the beginning. When that joke first came out, I said that joke is brilliant. Something is amazing about that Dave Chappelle. And as I've learned about Dave Chappelle and looking into I'll say the technology, or just looking into comedy, just the comedy in itself, the art form. That's what I guess. Looking into the art of comedy, man. You know, if it's not coming from a place of being authentic or being genuine, whatever, then it's not gonna deliver. The
audience will know. The audience will know.
Yeah. And you would think that, you know, but then again, when you look back, and we knew this about, you know, Richard Pryor being, you know, coming from how he grew up. You know, you look at how these guys grew up, and their misery brought them. You know, how they found, you know, comedy in misery. Now, granted, Dave Chappelle didn't grow up in misery. He's just a brilliant cat. You know, he grew up a mental thing. That's why his comedy is the way that it is. You know, but yet he's still true and honest, and just love the cat, man. So I would love to see how that's working out for you, man. Your comedy, man, and we'll be in more. I'll dive into as many podcasts as I can to hear more.
Man, check them out. You
know, more of what you do, because you're up to 50 some now. I mean, you got quite a few.
It's going to be 54, 55, something like that.
Wow.
So I'm putting them out, man. I'm putting them out, and I'm having fun. That's the most important thing. I'm having a lot of fun, and I think that I'm putting something out there that will help people. I hope I'm putting something out there that will help people in some way. So.
Well, your intention, that's the key. Your intention, it doesn't come back to you void. It doesn't do that. No. You know, you put some out there, and then we don't have to see, you know, what the come back, because that's not where it's coming from. It's not coming from a egotistical point to where we need to.
I do what I do, and my intention, as you say, is there, and hopefully that will come through. So.
Yeah, and it will, and I'm sure it does, because of where it's coming from. You know, where it comes from. I believe that it serves its purpose, and
from the heart,
and that's where that from the heart, and that's the faith. You don't have to see it. You know, you just that substance is being able to put it out there. That's the faith. You know, you put it out there. I remember Church of Christ on Hawkins. Was that
Worcester
Hawkins?
Avenue?
No. Worcester. Yeah, Worcester. I remember that.
That's right. I took you. You were there with me a couple times.
There, man. And boy, that was different, because I don't think you never went to church with me. I don't think.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, there wouldn't be because at that time we weren't really going to church. We weren't going to that church. But I remember that, and that was different. That was different. Now, see, that Church of Christ. It was called Church of Christ, but I think, if I remember, make this connection, I think this is the first time I'm making this connection. If I'm not mistaken, my ex, which we don't get into my exes too much, but one of my exes was a member, and probably still is a member, of the Church of Christ.
Okay,
That's kind of like a full circle moment, because I never made the connection between the two because you guys didn't have music. You only sang a cappella. You didn't have music there.
That's right.
And that was big for me. I'm like, dude, that was different for me. These guys ain't got no instruments. They just singing. It sounded good, but I got a little bit better understanding of Church of Christ through her.
It's different, but I think it's also simpler than a lot of other denominations. It's not better. It's not, I'm not going to knock any other denominations, but Church of Christ is very straightforward and simple. Yeah.
Yeah. Simple, straightforward. And I understood that they call it like here. It's named on the street, Church of Christ of Mebane Street, I guess, or Mebane Street, or Moose. Is that how it was?
Worcester Avenue, Church of Christ. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so it was. So
or maybe the neighborhood, North Hill Church of Christ. Right.
In other words, so that validates what I was trying to find out. Yeah. So it's the same thing, man. Yeah. Church of Christ, man, and that's cool, man. I grew respect for that. I guess denomination, man. That's full circle because I remember going there, man.
That's
and
right.
I was like, We've had some cool times, man.
We had some fun times, man. Do you remember that time we went to Wingfoot? I don't know why we were there. We were at Wingfoot for some reason. You remember Wingfoot, the park there in Akron?
Wingfoot.
Over there by,
I remember Turkey. We called it Turkey Foot.
Well, that was also a park, but Wingfoot was another one. Same area. Different part.
You have to remember.
Okay.
You're drawing me right now.
We were there for some reason, and we walked in on some family reunion, and we're eating their food. Do you remember that?
It's starting to come back to me a little bit. Keep going.
We just walked in. We just walked in. Some family was there, getting down with the barbecue and baked beans and everything. And I looked at you. I said, "Aaron, you hungry?" And you said, "John, no." I said, "Come on, man, let's go." And we walked in there and we just started eating and talking, small talk with you. You remember that?
Man, you know what? How do you remember this kind of stuff, dude?
Man, I remember all that stuff. You just leave it to me. I remember all that stuff.
Man, but see, the thing is, I remember Turkey Foot. I don't remember the name Wingfoot. I remember Turkey Foot because it was a lake. I mean, that's right, because we would go swimming at Turkey Foot.
But it was that whole chain of lakes. There was Wingfoot. There was Turkey Foot. There was... maybe it was just those two. Yeah.
Dang, I didn't know about, but yep. You know what, John? We would do something like that. We would find ourselves crazy, man, just crazy stuff. But then we were in a unique situation. I mean, now granted, I'm not trying to make us that special, but we were in a unique situation.
It was very unique.
Yeah, it was you and I. Now because to this day, my memory is a little blurry when it comes to our graduating class. I remember sitting on the field, but I remember as far as black or African, but just black people in our graduating class, it was me and you. Was there a girl? I want to say Tawana
Falconer, but she was older.
She was older.
She was a year older than us.
She was a year older than us. I remember. Man, it's another guy's name, but they were younger than us. Who else was with us in our graduating class?
Nobody.
Was
it was just us. It was just us.
There was a mixed girl. Who was that mixed girl?
You're talking about Leah Kobe?
Yeah,
I dated her for a while.
You dated her, yeah. She was our age, wasn't she?
Leah was our age, yeah. She was in our class, but she had left by then.
Right, she didn't graduate with us.
No,
So I'm thinking, who else graduated with us that was black? I can't think of anybody else.
It was just us. Yeah. Two shadows and a bunch of clouds.
Two shadows and two pieces of pepper and salt, man. That was something on that field, and yeah, because my mind was, man. That it was just you and I. Because now, granted, we gotta mention Ray Hubbard.
Wait, but he left. He left and went to Barberton.
He went to Barberton. They was a great cat, man. I love, Ray. Got to mention Ray Hubbard, man.
I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna tell you something about him off the air, not now. I'm gonna tell you. Off the air.
Please. I'll say yeah. But Ray, man, Richard Ray and Joy Reed and her said Joy is the younger Lisa. Not Reed. Yeah, there was just a few, but the point that I was making was we were in a different, man. We had a different vantage point. I guess it's an advantage or disadvantage. It depends on how you look at it. Depends on how you add it up, man. Because musically, that was a major thing for me because I got into band. I got into learning how to read music a little bit, man. And sometimes it definitely positively affected my musicality as far as drumming because I had time, space to practice. I learned. That's when I got introduced to Neil Peart with Rush and Journey and all that type of music that if I was an actor, man, I wouldn't know nothing about that. It would be straight cameo, funk part. I was just going to say,
if I was a musician at all today, I would definitely be a different kind of musician because that pop rock influence, I wouldn't have gotten that in Akron. I just wouldn't have gotten
it. Yeah, we wouldn't got. And honestly, sometimes I'll go back and I admit this. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this out loud, but sometimes it's like I know that I cried at times wanting to go back to Bookdale, or wanting to go to Akron, wanting to go to the school. I remember, they have not many tears, but wanting to go back to Akron because I still think that I missed out on some things when it came musically, when it came to a certain amount of funk or something amount of rawness that I was too busy listening to the technical side and this, that, and the other, that it's like I wanted it all, But now this is years later looking back, and granted, we don't even have to get into the other part of living out in Norton and being the two brothers and the names that you mentioned. You didn't mention Tracy Ballinger. I love Tracy Ballinger. just love Tracy Ballinger. But anyways, all of that stuff. But I still make that point of, man, we were in such a very unique and special place that brings us to where we are now to be able to talk about the things that we can talk about now, man, because we've seen some things, man, in the way we've grown up, and it shaped who we are, man. And I'm very humbled and I'm very thankful, man. Very thankful for that experience, Doc. Very thankful.
Me too. Listen, man, it's been 2.5 hours. Yep. I have no idea what my children are doing. I need to go look at it.
That's a good thing, man. This is great. I think that's a great way to round it out, man. We bring it back home. Coming home.
Yeah, the Coming Home podcast. We brought it back home. Yeah.
We brought it back home, man.
I enjoyed doing this. Now we're back in touch. We're going to keep it that way.
Absolutely.
One of these days you're going to get here to Norway. I'm sure before that we'll do another episode with you on the podcast. Absolutely, man. We've already put it out there, man. And again, man, thank you so much, man, for this opportunity, for this platform. Mm-hmm. It's so great to be connected again, man. And whoever listens to this, man, just be encouraged. I always want to shed that light out there. Be encouraged, whatever's going on in your life, man. Just be encouraged, man. It's a beautiful sentiment. All right, everybody. Bye. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. Yes, I am. Yes, I'm coming home.